Chapter 190. Such cruel and gloomy words were squeezed out from the beast's mouth. But Yunzi didn't dare to respond with a sneer, because he had now realized that anything this terrifying enemy said might not be a threat. Although he didn't know how Long Sun, who had just entered the true state, could kill the soul of a Taoist master. But he knew that just half an hour ago, something even more impossible had happened. This Li Yunqin, under his nose, set up such a plan that he completely didn't know. With his original cultivation level, he destroyed the body of a Taoist master who had cultivated for decades. In his known history, such a thing had never happened. He finally learned his lesson and learned to be obedient. But it didn't mean that he would give in. The path of cultivation was full of difficulties and obstacles. If he lost his soul and knelt down to beg for mercy, he would never reach the Taoist master level. Yunzi's soul raised his eyebrows. His expression and appearance were almost the same as when he was alive, but it was obvious that he was more irritable than when he was alive, because the obsession of revenge had affected his mind. He was almost an ordinary person. "It's not over." The ghost gritted his teeth and said, "There is still a Taoist master in Kenzo. He will bring the news out. I don't believe that you can kill a second Taoist master. Daotong will not believe the nonsense of a cunning demon." The ghost's eyes turned and suddenly laughed. "I will become a martyr. Daotong will not rest until you die. What method did you use to take over that Long Sun?" Hee. Daotong will think that you are a demon, and that dragons will seek revenge on you. You will never have peace." "Oh." Long Sun nodded slightly. Compared to the ghost of the Taoist priest, his head was so huge that when he nodded, the cloud and mist surged up like a roaring wave and drowned the ghost. After 2 breaths, the cloud and mist receded, and the ghost was surrounded by wisps of white smoke, as if it had just emerged from the tide. "Killing a perfected one is indeed my limit," Li Yunqin said in a happy but serious tone. "From the first day you came to the city of Wei, I've been thinking about how to get rid of you. Fortunately, you're a smart person and aren't willing to use pure violence to solve the problem. That's how we ended up in this situation. A true master of the Kenzo. Indeed, it's not easy for me to make a move against him. That's because I learned a little about Daotong's tactics from Lu Ling, so I could deal with you. Kenzo. This prince is not very familiar with it." However, the godly beast's huge golden eyes turned, and he suddenly laughed evilly. Hee. "But do you think I don't have any helpers?" Seeing his smug expression, the ghost seemed to become angrier and more irritable. He pointed at the city of Wei. "That ghost emperor? Just a true state cultivator, and a ghost emperor at that. He was not a match for a true Kenzo cultivator. Even with you, that Kenzo will be able to escape." "Idiot," Li Yunqin snorted coldly, his voice like muffled thunder. "Look outside the city of Wei, 30 miles to the north of the Wild Mountain, and see what you see." The ghost got his advice, and didn't ask how he knew the situation over there. He just used his eyesight to look over there. Then he suddenly opened his eyes wide. Outside the city of Wei, 30 miles to the Wild Mountain. It was drizzling. This place was already outside the city of Wei, and the wildfire 2 months ago did not affect this area. The rain clouds over the city of Wei 100 miles away brought the remaining rain to this place. But what came was not the heavy rain, but the refreshing drizzle of a cow's hair. Some people would go out with oil paper umbrellas in such weather, or simply experience the pleasure of the drizzle soaking their skin. But there was one person who didn't seem to like rainy days at all, and even more disliked being wet. A girl in white with her hair tied loosely behind her head, and a plain wooden hairpin was standing in a wooden post pavilion by the roadside. But her little donkey with shiny fur was standing in the rain on the other side of the road, eating the tender grass covered with fine water droplets. It seemed very happy. The roof of the post pavilion was covered with green vines, and the walls were covered with moss. The drizzle slowly formed puddles on the muddy ground outside the pavilion, and the puddles extended into thin streams, soaking the ground in the pavilion. But the water was afraid of the girl. It avoided her. Bai Yunqin held the reins in her hands. Together with the little black donkey on the other side of the road, they drew a line on the road. She silently looked into the distance. There were verdant light green mountains, winding muddy roads, and wild grass with flourishing little flowers on the roadside. In the sky behind her, the muffled thunder rolled, and the golden light shone, but she ignored it. She even looked a little angry. She stood like this in silence for a long time, until the thunder and lightning finally subsided, until she felt the terrible aura of the netherworld 100 miles away, and finally frowned. It stinks. And at this time the person she was waiting for finally came. It was a swordsman. He stepped on his flying sword and flew through the air. He turned into a stream of light that pierced through the sky, leaving a long trail of clouds high in the sky. But the trail of clouds suddenly stopped at the post pavilion on the road. The swordsman in the sky disappeared. In the next moment, a young man with a sword on his back walked out from the wild grass by the roadside, and even picked a white flower to put in his Taoist bun. He looked young and handsome, as if he was in his teens. But Taoists also had ways to maintain their appearance, and no one would really think that a Taoist master was only in his teens. This Taoist master Kinzo Taoist master Tong Fingzi smiled as he walked to the post pavilion, and stopped in front of the reins that blocked the road. He looked at Bai Yunxin, and then at the little black donkey. Then he stretched out a finger and flicked the reins. The water droplets on the reins were flicked off by him. Then, he heard the girl in white use a clear yet soft voice, like the cry of a crane, to softly say 3 words to him in such a romantic and wonderful weather. Cross the line, Dai. The young swordsman blinked and spread out his hands awkwardly. Miss Bai, I was entrusted by someone. Bai Yunqin slowly raised her head and looked at him. A pair of black and white eyes suddenly turned pure black. The swordsman hurriedly took 3 steps back and said, Okay. Don't be angry, I won't go. As he spoke, he looked up at the sky above the city of Wei. After a while, he squinted his eyes. It seems that there is nothing to take. Then he cupped his hands towards someone in the sky, and said with a mischievous smile, as if he was begging for mercy, I'm sorry. Bai Yunqin did not look at him. She still stood silently in the post pavilion. But the swordsman did not leave. The swordsman stared at the girl for a while, but she did not respond. Until the swordsman's hair was soaked by the rain, he scratched his neck. Miss Bai, I heard that your feather coat has fallen into the hands of the Lord Dongting. Bai Yunxin turned her head to look at him, expressionless, and suddenly smiled. Why? Do you want my feather coat? The swordsman hurriedly waved his hand. Of course not. We all know that Miss Bai said 1,000 years ago, whoever can take the feather coat away from you will. Alas, I don't want to take your feather coat away from you, but you don't like it. You will catch up with me and tear me apart. The smile on Bai Yunxin's face suddenly disappeared, and she became calm again. Then get out. The swordsman still did not leave. He just smiled mischievously. Then who is so important this time that Miss Bai is here? Before he finished his words, the girl suddenly turned hostile. Without any warning, she suddenly raised her hand. There was a sharp buzzing sound in the void, and a row of feather-shaped shadows rushed towards the swordsman along with her big sleeves. Tong Fingzi's face immediately changed. Without any movement, the flying sword behind him leaped out with a swoosh and shielded his body, taking a solid hit. Just one blow, and he was sent flying. The swordsman, with rolling airwaves, sparks, and amazing spiritual energy fluctuations, was sent flying from the front of the post house to the faint green mountains far away. After a long time, only then did the broken tip of the sword whizzed over and landed on the barren mountain. In an instant, more than 200 meters high mountaintop was shaved off. And Yunzi's ghost witnessed all this. Your reinforcement is a smart person. Li Yunxin sneered. The ghost's green face turned black. He stared at Bai Yunxin for a while, and then stared at Li Yunxin. That witch? Why would she help you? What did you do in private? I'm so angry. His anger made his body swell up slowly, like a middle-aged man who was getting fat. What's wrong with Emperor Yi? What the hell, You wish. I tell you. Do you think you can sit back and relax after driving him away? That coward is just an enlightened immortal, the great master of Langyi Cave Heaven. Do you know that great master? The great master of Langyi Cave Heaven, who has reached the mysterious realm. Kuan Wuzi. Kuan Wuzi, who is about to enter the mysterious realm, is also here. It's only 1,000 miles away from the city of Wei. When he comes, hee ha ha ha, humph 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 humph, you can't escape. He will know everything. Humph ha 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 ha. Li Yunxin slowly raised his head. If he was still in his human form, he would find that he was frowning and a little surprised. In just a few minutes, the tone of Yunzi's ghost became more and more familiar. It reminded him of Sanhua. This ghost's reason was disappearing quickly. Li Yunxin wasn't sure if it was because her array had restricted his Dao technique, causing him to be unable to maintain his consciousness. This wasn't a good sign, and wasn't part of his plan. What he needed was a soul of an immortal who was stubborn and unreasonable, but still had consciousness, and could remember many things, not a muddle-headed ghost. Right at this moment, when Li Yunxin was about to do something, a figure quickly formed in the rain. The rainwater gathered and formed the silhouette of a middle-aged man. The silhouette was filled with colors and became lively. After a breath, the human figure was completely plump, and the sleeves of his robe fluttered in the wind. The newcomer wore a purple gold crown with 8 treasures, and a robe with flowing clouds. He had a long beard, a high nose, and phoenix eyes. He was a rare handsome man. As soon as Yu Yunzi's soul saw this person, he immediately began to yell. Great Master! The demeanor and calmness of a Taoist enlightened master was gone. He looked like a spoiled child. He was so happy that he danced, and even wanted to give the other person a hug. But he was a ghost. The Taoist in front of him, who was only 1 level away from the peak of the profound realm, was just a clone made from rainwater. So the two of them crossed each other, and didn't hug each other. But the ghost's joy didn't decrease. He suddenly turned his head to look at Li Yunxin. His face showed a cruel and resentful expression. Great Master! Kill him! Kill him! Avenge me! I'm the Great Master of Daodong's Langya Cave, Kuan Wuzi, who was at the peak of the profound realm, slightly raised his hand and pressed down. The ghost was immediately frozen in place and couldn't move. He knew that the Great Master was very dissatisfied. Even if he had a lot of things to say, he could only stay silent for the time being. The profound realm Taoist carefully looked at the mountain-like giant beast not far away. After looking for a while, he raised his hand and bowed. He asked politely, Why did Wei River Dragon King kill my Daotong cultivators? The clouds and mist suddenly completely wrapped around the mythological beast. A moment later, the clouds and mist dispersed. Li Yunxin revealed his true appearance. He transformed into a white robe. His clothes were simple but not shabby. The robe fluttered in the wind. No matter his appearance or aura, he didn't seem to be at a disadvantage. I am Li Yunxin, also Wei River Dragon King. He looked at Kuan Wuzi and said in a deep voice, Great Master, have you heard of the name Li Yunxin? I heard that Linger died in your hands. Of course I have heard of it. Li Yunxin was slightly stunned. He quickly glanced at Yunzi's ghost. The ghost seemed very uneasy. He immediately speculated based on the limited details in his mind. Finally, he came to an unexpected conclusion. Ling Kongzi knew his true identity. Yunzi also knew his true identity. But this great master, the master of the heavenly grotto, actually didn't know. Strange. But now wasn't the time to think about this. He had to probe this profound realm Taoist's actual strength. Great mastery, profound realm. Then we have something to talk about. He temporarily buried the doubts in his mind. He stretched out his hand, and a folding fan appeared in his palm. But this bamboo fan was no longer made of white paper. There was a painting of mountains and rivers on the surface of the fan. When Yunzi walked out of the profound light treasure mirror for the first time, Li Yunxin had drawn this painting on the rattan chair. Then, he wiped the surface of the fan. A clear light appeared in his hand. He flipped his wrist again. He frowned and thought for a while. Then he shouted, Appear! The wisp of clarity immediately expanded, turning into a round top and a dazzling golden moon halo. Then this moon halo floated in the air. Li Yunxin stepped on it. Then, he took out a rattan chair from his folding fan and sat on it. Only then did he heave a sigh comfortably and reveal a smile. After all, I've just entered the real state, and I can't compare to the 2 old drivers. It's still difficult for me to fly. This is too presumptuous. Yunzi's ghost stared at the moon halo under Li Yunxin for a while. Finally, he couldn't help but shout, "Is that my profound light treasure mirror? How can you command it?" Chapter 191. Li Yunxin looked at Yunzi and shook his head regretfully. A good Taoist became a retarded child. I really feel sorry for him. Kuan Wuzi slightly lowered his eyelids, and Yunzi stopped screaming. Then he looked at Li Yunxin. Why does Dragon King feel sorry for him? You were also the one who destroyed his physical body. Because he came to the city of Wei to kill people. Li Yunxin pointed at Yunzi's ghost with his folding fan. Of course, we are all adults and some things are not clear. But in general, you are the ones who offended me from the beginning. Miss Lu of the Gui Cave found me and asked me to go up the mountain with her. Of course I didn't want to, so she wanted to kill me. So I had to kill her. Then this gentleman came to the city of Wei and wanted to get involved in the muddy water. He even had some bad thoughts in his heart, so I had to kill him too. In fact, it is so simple. Kuan Wuzi nodded. So Dragon King is not wrong. Yunzi shouted. This man is not Dragon King. That Chiwen is already dead. But Li Yunxin and Kuan Wuzi didn't care about him. Li Yunxin smiled. I didn't go all the way to the Gui Cave to make trouble, but two big things happened in the city of Wei. One time, half of the Taoshi Road was destroyed and half of the Wilderness Mountain was burned. The other time is now. If you were here just now, you would have seen a lot of dead souls. Yunzi killed tens of thousands of innocent people. I know the first commandment of cultivators. He deserves to die. Kuan Wuzi looked at the ground under his feet. There used to be a Shuraba in the city of Wei, but the heavy rain had washed away the blood and flesh. However, the blood of tens of thousands of people was not so easy to clean. From the sky, some parts of the city of Wei were still pink. But he couldn't see the ghosts anymore. The banners and the millions of Yin soldiers had scattered in all directions. But they had all vanished without a trace by now. This was also one of the things he was afraid of. He could sense the intense resentment in the air, even from 1,000 miles away. But now that his avatar had arrived, the Yin soldiers were nowhere to be seen. But it did not disappear without a trace. There were always traces to follow. Kuan Wuzi could sense that the millions of Yin soldiers were still around. But he simply couldn't locate them. He was a spiritual master who had reached the mysterious realm. The profound realm Taoist master smiled and said, How do you know it wasn't Dragon King who killed them? After all, Tongfu was an enlightened Taoist master. He would not easily violate this rule. After all, the Dragon King is a demon. Li Yunxin realized that the word same application was probably used by Yunzi in the secular world. Kuan Wuzi sighed softly. Previously, I had a conversation with my friend from 1,000 miles away. I know that Dragon King was only at the state of transcendent. Now that the Dragon King is a perfected master, Tongfu almost lost his mind. It can be seen that the Dragon King spent a lot of effort to destroy his body. Until now, the land around the city of Wei is still a hidden array. I'm ashamed that I can't see through it. I'm just saying that the Dragon King is a demon, and so is Emperor Yi. The two demons killed a cultivator of Daotong, and many people died in the city. Moreover, the Dragon King needed the resentment of the Yin soldiers to form the array. Kuan Wuzi smiled faintly. I think that the Dragon King killed them. Daotong will probably think so too. Li Yunxin looked at him and was extremely surprised. You are pushing the blame to others. That is not the truth. Kuan Wuzi shook his head and smiled. It's not what the Dragon King thinks. I mean that he killed people, or looked like he killed people, or even Tongfu. But the one who made Tongfu reach this stage was actually the Dragon King. Can the Dragon King say that Tongfu killed tens of thousands of people wasn't part of your plan? Li Yunxin stared at Kuan Wuzi for a while, and the surprise on his face faded away. Then he smiled. Oh, that's what you mean. His head is his own, his body is also his own. I didn't use a knife to force him. You were a human in the past, right? But what method did you use to possess Dragon Son? Kuan Wuzi said indifferently, as if he wasn't surprised by this. Because he had experienced too much. After experiencing too much, he realized that he knew too little. Thus, he knew that there were many strange things in the world, and there was no need to be surprised by everything. This seemed to be the opposite of Yunzi's confidence. You possessed Dragon Sun and became the Dragon King. But it should still be the human heart. Since it is the human heart, you can still use the lives of tens of thousands of innocent people to plot against a cultivator. Li Yunqin, you are indeed a demon. My head is on your shoulder. You can think whatever you want. Li Yunqin sighed and sat up straight. Kuan Wuzi smiled. In the future, people will think so too. You want to kill me? Yes. But I won't act rashly for the time being. Kuan Wuzi raised his hand and twirled his beard. I only need this incarnation to kill you. It won't take much effort. But you seem to have a lot of secrets, and I want to know them. But if I kill you, I can't guarantee that your divine soul won't be damaged, and you might not remember so much. Besides, you are a real person. But I will bring Tongfu's soul back to the sect. What he said is probably the truth. Hehe, on this point I can't compare to the demons. Dragon King probably won't understand that Daotong is the righteous path of the world. And it needs some facts and evidence. It can't just be said by I understand this point. Li Yunqin snorted coldly. Many individuals who don't really care about order and justice gather together. But they have no choice but to care and be restrained, on the whole. Because if they don't do this, these individuals will fight among themselves and kill themselves. This is a very interesting phenomenon. Kuan Wuzi was stunned for a moment, and then he smiled sincerely. Dragon King's words are also very interesting, and it sounds reasonable. Indeed. Thus, when Daotong confirms the evil deeds of Dragon King in Wei River, we will most likely not be restrained like Tongfu when we act then. There are some unwritten rules between Daotong and demons. Not killing a real person is one of them. After saying this, Kuan Wuzi paused for a while. Looking at Li Yunqin, he couldn't help but smile, as if he felt that Li Yunqin was indeed an interesting demon. So he added, even if you want to kill him, you have to do it cleanly and smoothly. If Dragon King can't destroy Tongfu's soul today, then it won't be cleanly and smoothly enough. Li Yunqin was silent for a while, and then he frowned. You mean? He asked tentatively. You mean actually killing Yunzi isn't a big deal, as long as he's dead and there's no evidence? Because there are some unwritten rules between demons and Daotong. So if there's no excuse, we can only suffer in silence? Kuan Wuzi laughed. Dragon King can think of it this way too. But the reason why we don't kill a real person is because this kind of thing is very difficult to clean up. The soul of a real person is extremely difficult to destroy. At that time, Dragon King can make up a lie, and Tongfu can confront Dragon King. Who will Dragon King say is in the right? Naturally, Daotong is in the right. Kuan Wuzi stopped laughing and looked at Li Yunqin coldly. Because Daotong is stronger than demons. So the reason is on Daotong's side. So, I will naturally take revenge for Tongfu. But I'm not in a hurry. Li Yunqin sat on the rattan chair. And under the rattan chair was the profound light treasure mirror. His body was surrounded by clouds, and under the clear light of the profound light treasure mirror was a faint golden color. This made him look like a god sitting on a throne high in the clouds. Just that this god was being threatened by the incarnation of another god. He frowned slightly, and leaned on the armrest of the rattan chair, holding his chin, and pondered for a while. Then he sighed. Then, what you said just now, I want to sum it up. Actually, I just want to say one thing. No matter why your people offended me, you can only blame me for killing them. Now, your clone is standing in front of me, and I can't do anything to Yunzi's soul. So, you brought him back, and you have a legitimate reason to deal with me. And you can also answer to the demons. Anyway, you're strong, and you're in the right. Kuan Wuzi didn't want to answer him, and he didn't even bother to smile. He stretched out his hand, and the sleeve of his robe became extremely big. It looked like it was going to sweep Yunzi's soul into it. At this moment he heard Li Yunqin say, I advise you not to do this. Wei River Dragon King stood up, and the expression on his face was no longer calm, but cold. I was hoping that there would be a few reasonable people in Daotong, but I'm very disappointed. He waved his hand, and put away the rattan chair. Standing on the profound light treasure mirror, he was surrounded by layers of clouds. And sometimes, your senses might not be as sharp as that of your Tongfu. You only created a clone. And you said that you're not in a hurry. It can be seen that you're a cautious person. You think that even if I'm in the true state, I can still injure your real body with the formation I set up in Wei City. Unfortunately, you guessed wrong. This formation has nothing to do with you. It's just used to deal with him. Li Yunxin pointed at Yunzi's soul. Kuan Wuzi frowned. I won't kill you today, but don't think that you have something to rely on. This formation of yours. What do you know? Li Yunxin laughed, and at the same time, pointed at the profound light treasure mirror below him. Do you know why I can use this thing? Now if I'm willing, I can even summon his 36 Tiangang spiritual children formation. When his body was destroyed, I took away his magic treasures, and the reason why I can control them freely is because even his soul is mine, so how can his magic treasures not be mine? You want to bring him back to Daotong to look for his parents? My friend, you must be dreaming. Li Yunxin suddenly stopped smiling and squinted his eyes. He opened his folding fan and casually took out Yunzi's magic brush and quickly drew a line on a landscape on the fan. Kuan Wuzi saw it clearly. He had drawn out a child from the landscape. Once this was done, heaven and earth shook. Kuan Wuzi had already felt the surging resentment in this place. But when he arrived, the million Yin soldiers that had spread out in all directions had already disappeared without a trace. He couldn't find the traces of those Yin soldiers, but he could feel their existence. At this moment, he finally knew where those Yin soldiers went. They, a million Yin soldiers, were all refined into resentment and spiritual power, and scattered around Wei City. Even Kuan Wuzi couldn't kill a million Yin soldiers in such a short time. Then there was only one explanation. Those Yin soldiers didn't resist, but followed the order, and voluntarily turned into resentment. Now this stroke of Li Yunxin's immediately became the eye of the formation. The spiritual power around Wei City, and the resentment formed by the millions of Yin soldiers surged crazily, and even the pouring rain was temporarily pushed back into the sky. The resentment formed by the souls of millions of Yin soldiers was so powerful that it was more than 10,000 times, 100,000 times, or even 1,000,000 times more powerful than the faith of millions. The land around Wei City carried such a powerful and terrifying aura, so much so that even Kuan Wuzi's expression changed. When Li Yunxin drew that stroke, he immediately felt that something was wrong. Then, he felt the violent aura surging around Wei City, and immediately shouted angrily, "Are you crazy? Once this resentment spreads out, you will destroy half of." He wanted to say half of the city of Wei, but when the words came to his mouth, he realized that half of the city of Wei couldn't be defeated. In the worst case, half of the Qing kingdom would be destroyed, and half of the land would become a land of resentment. How many people would die? It could make the Celestial angry, but he didn't say the second half because that violent and terrifying resentment only appeared for a short moment. Then, it suddenly disappeared without a trace. The sudden change caused the perfected person who had mastered mystical realm to be stunned in the air. He looked as if he was truly stunned. That kind of power. Where did it go? The next moment, he unconsciously looked at Yunzi's soul beside him. It had disappeared. Then he turned to look at Li Yunxin's folding fan. Originally, on the white paper fan, there were mountains and rivers drawn with different shades of ink. But now the mountains and rivers had become full of color. The painting was so realistic. It was as if the mountains and rivers around the city of Wei had become smaller and shrunk, and were stuck to the surface of the fan. Looking at it, it was a panoramic view of mountains and rivers with bright colors. If one used his eyesight to look again, he would find that there were more details between the mountains and rivers. He could see the rocks on the mountains and the moss on the rocks. If his eyesight was strong enough, he could even see the extremely small dust on the moss. And one person was also on the painting. That was Yunzi. Kuan Wuzi was stunned for a long time before he raised his hand and pointed at Li Yunxin. You are the remnant of the painting saint." Li Yunxin looked at him calmly and closed his folding fan with a swoosh. "You see, now you can't complain." "Just now those," Kuan Wuzi murmured to himself in disbelief. "You should know this," Li Yunxin smiled. "When you write talismans, the density of the spiritual energy of heaven and earth is enough. But when the talismans are written into a formation, the spiritual energy of heaven and earth can't soak the talismans in spiritual energy, so it needs to be supplemented. For example, Yunzi killed 30,000 people to form his dark spirit formation. But the formation is too small. He thought that I drew a person in the city of Wei and the surroundings of the city of Wei, and that is my big formation. I don't like to be so petty. That person is only a part of my real formation. My big formation is half of the city of Wei. Yunzi used his own spiritual energy to guide the resentment of the 30,000 people to corrode my small formation, and he was very proud of himself. He thought that all my arrangements were used by him. But that idiot didn't know that I prearranged the meridians and acupoints in the human-shaped small formation, and he used his own spiritual energy to guide the resentment to flow through those meridians and acupoints. Isn't that person actually him? Ha 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 ha. Li Yunxin held back his laughter, as if he was very amused. Once this idiot's formation was completed, he had actually drawn himself into my 1,000 miles of river and mountains painting. Just now, he foolishly asked me why his Dharma Tao didn't work, and why his body wasn't as strong as before. Ha ha ha. Half of his spiritual energy was drawn by himself, and half of his body was in my painting. How could it work? But what is drawn by the realm of the outer fringe is, after all, an illusion. What is drawn by the realm of the outer fringe is real, but it can be easily destroyed. The realm of the true. I am now in the realm of the true. I can use my spirit to draw a real thing that seems to be made by heaven and earth. But only when I reach the realm of the mysterious can I draw with the world. I don't have this level, but the resentment of millions of ghost soldiers, in an instant near the city of Wei, is enough for me to use the means of the realm of the mysterious. Although it is only once, it is enough for me to draw his soul alive into this painting. This is the means that we, the remnants of the art saint, can use in the realm of the mysterious, drawing with the world. Do you think my plan is brilliant? Kuan Wuzi listened to him in a daze, and suddenly raised his eyebrows. For the first time, his face showed real anger. Since you are the remnants of the art saint, why do I need to kill you? Today this seat will. But my father is Li Chunfeng. Li Yunxin laughed. You dare to touch me? Kuan Wuzi was stunned again and didn't speak. Note 1. The cultivators above the realm of truth are called immortal, and are all called Jinren. The cultivators of the realm of truth, the realm of mystery, and the cultivators of the realm of supreme oblivion are all called Jinren. This is a form of respect. Chapter 192. However, it wasn't because the name Li Chunfeng resounded like thunder in his ears. Rather, he seemed to have a faint impression of this person. However, he couldn't remember where he had heard of this person before. If he really didn't know anything about him, he would think that the other party was bluffing. If he had a thorough understanding of him, he would probably have a good way to deal with him. But looking at the current situation, he was stunned. In fact, for a profound realm cultivator, who had lived for more than 500 years, having a slight impression of a person in his mind was already an incredible thing. 500 years, how many people must he have met? A cultivator's mind was clear, and their memory was definitely good. And it was precisely because of this that this matter became quite strange. A situation that only people in the secular world would actually have appeared. I can't remember where I heard this name before. Li Yunxin heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. I've caught him. At least for now. The plan didn't include the appearance of a profound realm cultivator, but the other party still came. Fortunately, he came at the end of the battle, and not when the dust had settled. Therefore, I borrowed the remaining power of the 1 million Yin soldiers, and the 2 months of planning, to form a dangerous and subtle balance with him. All of this was because of the uneasy gaze of Yunzi's ghost, when he heard Li Yunxin mention Lu Ling to Kuan Wuzi. That one look said too many things. It was like an extremely hard and smooth stone slab that had an extremely small crack. Right now, Li Yunxin wanted to pry open this crack, shatter the stone slab, and break out of this dangerous situation. Kuan Wuzi was stunned and fell silent. After frowning and thinking for a while, He temporarily gave up on killing Li Yunqin and asked in a deep voice, "Who is Li Chunfeng?" Li Yunqin sneered proudly. He seemed to have no fear at all, as if he wasn't the least bit worried that this profound realm cultivator in front of him could pose a threat to him. He even took 2 steps on the profound light treasure mirror, challenging the patience of the Langya Paradise's sect leader, and then said arrogantly, "You actually don't know? TSK, how embarrassing. But don't you know that Ling Kongzi and Yunzi both know about it?" Without waiting for Kuan Wuzi to speak, he continued, "However, I guess you won't want to know, nor would he try to kill me, because if you kill me, you'll have a hard time explaining yourself to the 2 saints. Speak clearly," Kuan Wuzi said solemnly. "You only have 1 chance. If I think you are bluffing, I will kill you at once. As for what kind of trouble there will be in the future, there is nothing in this world that I, the son of Kuan Wu, cannot handle. All right. Since you ask me to speak so strongly, I will. But you can interrupt me at any time, as long as you think it's necessary." Li Yunqin heaved a sigh of relief. "My father is Li Chunfeng, and my mother is Sheng Guanyu. My name is Li Yunqin. If I were still human, I would be 15 years old this year. Today, June 17th, is my birthday." Hearing this, Kuan Wuzi's expression was calm. However, Li Yunqin kept staring at the other party's expression. As a profound realm Taoist who had never gone through this kind of training, the minute expressions on his face couldn't escape his eyes. At this moment, Li Yunqin told himself that if he were to use his incarnation to talk to others in the future, he had to make sure that his appearance was indistinct, just like what Ling Kongzi had done in the past. Kuan Wuzi's eyes slightly widened, the corners of his mouth relaxed, and his jaw lowered. The profound realm Taoist had already done well. In this world, no one would be able to see through the emotions in his heart at this moment. However, only Li Yunqin knew of some instincts, which were effective even in the bodies of these high-level Taoists. After all, they hadn't separated themselves from their corporeal bodies. In essence, they were still human. The subtle expressions of the profound realm Taoist, which couldn't be controlled by his consciousness, conveyed a message to Li Yunqin. He was surprised. And the degree of surprise was very strong. Originally, Li Yunqin thought that the other party was surprised by the fact that he was only 15 years old. However, he soon discovered another detail. When he heard the name Sheng Guanyu, Kuan Wuzi's eyebrows twitched, and his nostrils widened. The scale of these subtle expressions was only a few millimeters. Perhaps even the changes caused by a strong gust of wind blowing on the face were more obvious than this. However, the powerful observation skills of a Taoist combined with Li Yunqin's unique knowledge that didn't exist in this world allowed him to see through the emotions of the profound realm Taoist. First, he was surprised. Then, when he heard the name Sheng Guanyu, he was surprised and at the same time revealed a slight fear. Kuan Wuzi was surprised because of his mother, Sheng Guanyu. The fear was also because of her. Li Yunqin was slightly startled. As he slowly said the next sentence, he quickly recalled all the details of his mother in his mind, hoping to obtain a stronger and more powerful weapon. "It seems like you don't know about this. Then I guess the first time you heard the name Li Yunqin was because of Ling Kongzi's information. I appeared in the city of Wei, and I was a powerful painter. And then you thought I was dead." Li Yunqin looked at him. Then something strange happened. "A transcendent realm Taoist of your Langya cave sect knew about my identity, and a true realm Taoist also knew about it. But you, the sect master, didn't know about it. Then, what if I tell you now that they knew about it for another purpose? Do you want to know?" Kuan Wuzi was silent for a while. However, Li Yunqin knew that his heart wasn't as calm as he looked. The profound realm Taoist silence lasted for 3 breaths, so Li Yunqin knew his attitude. He said softly, "Ling Kongzi knew about me because, you also know, before she went down the mountain, she went to see the 2 sages." Enough. At this point, Kuan Wuzi frowned and interrupted him harshly, as if listening to one more word would make him feel uncomfortable. "It's not over." Li Yunqin sneered. "After hearing this, you must think that this is a matter between the 2 sages, and you don't want to get involved. Then you should also know that since Ling Kongzi knew about it, But you, the sect master of the Langi Cave sect, didn't know about it. It must be a secret. And the two sages don't want unrelated people to know about it. So if you kill me, this matter will become a big deal, and the whole world will know about it. Your two superiors will be very unhappy. Kuan Wuxia took a deep breath, and then exhaled, as if he was going to leave. Fine, I'll listen to what you said today, and I'll investigate it later. Don't worry, my friend. Li Yunxin smiled and looked at Kuan Wuxia. Do you think I said so much just to change the result of you not killing me? The profound realm Taoist frowned again. What else do you want? Sparing your life is already. The two low-level cultivators of the Ling Su Sword sect also know about this matter. Your Daotong people are really rotten sieves. Li Yunxin stopped smiling. If it was someone like Lu Laodao who understood him as well as he did, at this moment, they would realize that he was going to make a request to a cultivator who had reached the peak of the profound realm. After he said this, Kuan Wuxia stopped again. The cultivator was filled with resentment, but he couldn't release it. He was being led by the nose by a mere true realm demon, but there was nothing he could do. Li Yunxin didn't care about the profound realm Taoist's resentment. With a cold expression he continued. Two low-level disciples of the Kenzo sect also know about this matter, and Yunzi, who is merely at the true realm, also knows about this matter. And they didn't know about this matter because the two sages didn't want them to. It was another mysterious person who told them. That mysterious person, and the organization behind him also have the same goal as the two sages. I tried to understand these matters, but Yunzi refused to say. Therefore, the matter with Ling Kongzi involves the two sages, so you shouldn't know about it. But the matter with Yunzi involves an organization that doesn't seem to be friendly toward Daotong. Don't you want to know about it? Kuan Wuxia was silent for a while and thought for a while. It seemed he had enough of the current situation. He snorted coldly. I'm not interested. Li Yunxin smiled slightly. It's your business if you're not interested. But I want you to do something else. Deal with the people in Daotong who know about this matter. Make them shut up and stop causing trouble for me. If you want to find out what the mysterious organization's goal is, and where they came from, then help me with this. I'm also investigating this matter, and I'm in a good mood. Perhaps I can share the results with you. Don't be in such a hurry to sneer. You're a profound realm cultivator, and I know that you're much more brilliant than Ling Kongzi and Yunzi. But since I'm able to chat with you and keep my life, you should know that I'm a worthy opponent. Kuan Wuxia was silent for a while and sighed. Are you really 15 years old? Yes, I am. How could you be so scheming? Li Yunxin smiled modestly. There are always geniuses in this world. Kuan Wuxia didn't seem to know how to respond to his words. He stared at him with a strange expression for a while, and then said in a deep voice, Tongzi didn't die in vain. You do have some skills. I'm also a person who appreciates talents. If you hand over Tongzi's soul to me, perhaps we can really talk about this matter of cooperation. That's impossible. Let's not talk about the fact that I can't create another profound realm-level formation. Let's talk about his soul itself. I'll be straightforward. Li Yunxin pointed at his folding fan. This is my temporary imperial residence. The reason I came up with a series of schemes before was to make Yunzi play tricks on me. There aren't many smart people who are good. I knew that he would definitely take the bait. Then, I can get some information that I can use against him. When this guy was alive, he was right about one thing. The general situation in this world is roughly divided into two camps. The human Dao formed by Daotong and Kenzo, and the loose dragon dynasty formed by the demons. In the beginning, you guys were the ones who made things difficult for me. So I stopped being a human and became a demon. Right now, I'm in control of Wei River and Wei City, sandwiched between the two camps. Therefore, I need a proof of allegiance, so that the demons can protect me. He waved his hand and opened his folding fan. This is my proof of allegiance. Yunzi is a high-level cultivator, and he's doing quite well in Daotong. He knows a lot of secrets. The demons might be interested in them. Most importantly, he knows a lot of cultivation techniques. To the demons, they might not be the most important things, but there might be some who want to recultivate. Moreover, He said a lot of things before. Something like Daotong wants to declare war against the Dragon Dynasty. You know, the demons are like a plate of loose sand. However, once they face a huge crisis as a whole, it might be a different matter. At that time, they will be willing to accept me. After all, humans understand humans the best. Kuan Wuzi should have been furious. But at this moment he wasn't. Perhaps his anger would be because of a mere youth talking nonsense, or something like that. However, at this moment, Kuan Wuzi already saw Li Yunxin as a real opponent. When fighting against an opponent of equal strength, one must get rid of all arrogance, conceit, and contempt. Otherwise he would learn from Yunzi's mistake. A single person's words cannot be trusted. Kuan Wuzi tried to point out the loophole in his words, with a serious and rational attitude. We can say that this is your scheme to make him form a wrong perception. In Daotong, what he said is the truth. But in your place, what he said, we can disregard it as the truth. What you said makes sense. Li Yunxin nodded without hesitation. Therefore, Kuan Wuzi tried to say something else to make him give in. However, Li Yunxin continued. But what about 25 people? I don't know much about Daotong's history, but it has been a long time since 36 low-level cultivators died, even if they were low-level cultivators. But now, I have 25 here. He finished his words. With a wave of the folding fan, he pulled out a ghost from the mountain. Although Kuan Wuzi couldn't recognize the name of the ghost, he could clearly see that it was indeed a cultivator. Once the ghost appeared, he immediately shouted angrily, "Why did Master lie to me? Why did Master kill me?" Li Yunxin immediately asked him, "Who is your master?" However, the ghost, who was supported by his stubbornness, couldn't remember who his master was. Li Yunxin said, "But his Taoist name is Yunzi." The ghost instantly winked, as if he was so angry that he wanted to dig his eyeballs out. Yes. Why did Yunzi plot to harm me? Why did he harm me?" Li Yunxin smiled slightly. A green light flashed in his palm, and he pulled it back into the fan. Then, he pulled out a few more ghosts under Kuan Wuzi's eyes. They were the souls of the cultivators that Yunzi wanted him to kill in the city of Wei. After showing 6 of them, he looked at Kuan Wuzi and said, "That friend of yours lied to me to kill them just for his array. However, I have a way to preserve their souls. Before I killed them, I told them who had ordered me to do it. Today, when I was fighting with Yunzi, these ghosts saw it from start to finish. If there are so many people, will Daotong go back on his word?" Kuan Wuzi let out a long breath. "You are really. How can you have such means at such a young age?" Li Yunxin smiled and nodded. "So cooperate with me as soon as possible. Don't let yourself regret it later. That Lu Ling was arrogant, but he was destroyed by me. That Yunzi was arrogant, but he was killed by me. Don't follow in their footsteps. It's not a good thing to be so high profile." Kuan Wuzi sighed. "Let me think about it." Li Yunxin's expression suddenly changed. He waved his sleeves, and the mysterious light treasure mirror under him instantly flew into the clouds, leaving Kuan Wuzi on the spot. "Then think carefully about how I got those millions of ghosts." His shout came from the thick clouds. "You don't know what's good for you." Chapter 193. Millions of Ghosts. A person sighed. His voice was shrill, and his tone sounded helpless and slightly mocking. "Now that we have spent so much effort on him, it will be hard to replace him." It was still raining, and the streets were still filled with people. They all looked up at the clouds in the sky, but at this time, there was no sign of Li Yunxin and Yunzi fighting. Dark clouds were dark clouds, there was nothing special about them. But the Dragon King was still in the cloud, and so was a Xian realm cultivator, but no one knew about it. And at the end of the old city street in the city of Wei, on the roof of the calligraphy and brush shop that originally belonged to Wang Sheng, the son-in-law of the Yu clan, stood 2 people. One black and one white, both with their tongues out. It was black by Yanjun. When Li Yunxin first met the 2 lords, the white Hell Lord's hat had the words, "Where did the man-eating demon come from?" written on it, while the black Hell Lord's hat had the words, "Where are you going after reincarnation?" written on it. But now, Bai Yanjun's hat had the words "empty," and the Black Yama Lord's hat had the words empty. Bai Yanjun looked at the crowd in the heavy rain while the Black Yama Lord looked at the sky and the abandoned palace beside them. He did not speak. Bai Yanjun then said, "TSK. If you didn't promise Emperor Yi back then, such a thing wouldn't have happened today. Millions of ghosts, millions of ghosts. Hand them all to that kid. Let him set up a formation. And they will all be gone." The Black Yama Lord still did not speak. After looking at the eerie abandoned palace for a while, he said, "You were the one who received the benefits back then. That kid is here." After saying that, without bending his knees, he jumped down from the roof and disappeared in midair. Hearing this, Bai Yanjun turned and saw Li Yunxin's figure vanishing. He was standing under the roof in the rain and looking up at him. When the Black Yama Lord disappeared, he smiled and greeted, "Are you here to check the results?" Bai Yanjun looked at the thick clouds above his head in astonishment. "You're not dealing with Kun Wuxia anymore? Thank you so much for your help. Now he's been fooled by me, and he's angry, and he wants to go. But he doesn't want to go. He's in a fierce mental struggle." Li Yunxin smiled and bowed to Bai Yanjun. "If he comes to talk to me later, I'll still have to borrow his power." She knew that Li Yunxin would only be so polite and courteous when he was asking for someone's help, and it was very likely that he would turn his back on them. But Bai Yanjun still seemed to enjoy his compliments. He stroked his long tongue and laughed sinisterly. "Hee hee. If I were you, I would quickly send him away. Why do I have to drag him and not allow him to leave? He's a profound realm Taoist master. Once he gets the wrong idea, he'll be able to send you away in the blink of an eye. This is a rare opportunity." Li Yunxin floated up to the roof, and followed by Yanjun's gaze, to look at the people on the street in the heavy rain. Those people raised their heads to look at the clouds, but they didn't know that the person they were looking at was right beside them, looking at them. Think about it. Yunzi is a rare figure in the city of Wei, not to mention a profound realm Taoist master. And a profound realm at that. Now that he's here, and can talk to me for so long, I have to take this opportunity to open up the conversation. If I can, I'll make good use of it. Right now I've killed both demons and cultivators, offending people on both sides. Kun Wuxia thinks that I'm not an ordinary person, so he shows a little respect and curiosity to me. But it's not enough. I have to make him stand on my side. At least make people think that he's on my side. This is indeed a risk. But if I don't take the risk now, it'll be more dangerous in the future. It's a mess, and I have to sort it out." The White Hell Lord chuckled. "I like this kind of enthusiasm. And, if one day I see you fail to harm others and get harmed instead, hee hee, that'll be more interesting." Li Yunxin also laughed with him. After laughing, he said, "I want to know about Emperor Yi." Bai Yanjun's face instantly showed a strange expression. "Why are you curious about this? In case your investment goes down the drain." Li Yunxin still had a smile on his face, but his tone was serious. "I don't know what 1,000,000 souls mean to you, but you guys work hard to capture souls every day, and even arrange for judges and ghost messengers. It's a tough job. Then I guess you'll feel heartache when you lose 1,000,000 souls. So I want to know what's the relationship between Emperor Yi and you, for you to spend so much money on him." Bai Yanjun didn't speak. Li Yunxin sat on the roof. Moss grew in the cracks of the roof tiles. After being soaked by the rain, it looked even greener and glossier. The heavy rain poured on the roof and flowed down the tiles, almost forming a small waterfall at the eaves. A few people were temporarily sheltering from the rain under the eaves, but they couldn't hear their conversation. But he didn't sit because he was tired. It was just a gesture to calm himself down after a high degree of tension. He sat down and pointed at the people under the eaves. "Look at them. Cultivators don't care about them, and you don't care about them either. But these individuals that you don't care about have gathered into a whole. That's the key to my victory today. So, my friend, I need to know some details. Some details you don't think are important, but they're very important to me. I don't know some things. Maybe it will become a fatal flaw in the next plan. I'm afraid your investment will go down the drain because of this. You'll be happy if I get tricked and suffer losses, but if I get tricked and die, you won't be happy. You've helped me so many times, and I'm grateful. But I know I didn't conquer you with my looks alone. You must hope that I have other uses in the future. So I think since I've invested so much today, you should explain some things to me clearly. It's better to make it clear in advance, so that we can talk about it. It's better than breaking up later. Bai Yanjun listened to his words, and was stunned for a while. Then he suddenly laughed. He laughed and pointed at the cloud above his head. You little brat, you're using the method you used on him on me. This is what you meant by, at least make people think that you're on my side. Huh? Li Yunxin sighed. Stop it. I'm serious. He'll come to talk to me in a while. If I don't need your help, then I'll have to use my trump card. Bai Yanjun's eyes widened, because of that stop it. But he really didn't know how to answer him, so he couldn't just brush his sleeves and leave. He was stunned for a moment, and pretended that he hadn't heard this sentence. After thinking for a while he sneered. You're thinking too much. Do you really think that I released 1,000,000 ghosts because of you? Li Yunxin was unhurried. His expression was as usual. I'd like to hear the details. Speaking of this, Aya. Bai Yanjun let out a long sigh. Tell me what you know first. Then I'll tell you some things. But there are some things that you don't want to know now. Okay. Li Yunxin didn't hesitate. After thinking for a while he said, that night when I saw you, you told me the method to take over Dragon Sun's body. During that time, I noticed something unusual. That is, you seemed to value that big ghost very much. It was the night after the Baohua Pavilion and Baohua Gathering. That big ghost ate the great painter from the capital, and wore his skin to the gathering. But during the gathering, Li Yunxin and Ling Kongzi saw through it, and Li Yunxin kept it in his sleeve. At that time, the big ghost was just a Yin spirit with some cultivation. Like all the ghost cultivators who escaped the net, it had a strong obsession. Although this obsession would weaken as the realm of cultivation increased, and the great ghost would become more rational, the great ghost would only have the cultivation of an emptiness realm expert. It could only harm ordinary people like young Master Qin, who only knew how to use talismans, but didn't know how to use talismans properly. Eating the great painter and wearing his skin to Baohua Gathering. Li Yunxin couldn't believe it was a coincidence. Thus, he put it away with the intention of properly interrogating it to find out if it was Ling Kongzi's scheme. But in the end, he had to believe it was really a coincidence. That big ghost was the last emperor of the Yi dynasty, Great Yizhou Emperor Lu Xungyang, who guarded the small court in the city of Wei for more than 60 years. Bai Yanjun said it didn't harm people, but it ate people the night before. Li Yunxin interrogated it for a long time, before he realized there was a secret. According to the big ghost, it received a promise from the Yama king in his dream, because of something that happened when it was alive. He promised that the small court in the city of Wei would be prosperous until he died 100 years later. Unfortunately, when the Qing army attacked, massacred the city, and killed him in the Golden Palace, the Yama king didn't show up. He broke his promise. After Emperor Yi died, the Yama king came personally to take his soul. Although the small court in the city of Wei was a small court, there were still 600,000 people in the city. At that time, the Yi dynasty had only been dead for 60 years. In many poor and remote places, people still thought it was Ye's world. Furthermore, a large number of the old and young were loyal to the Yi dynasty in the city of Wei. They were only waiting for the day when the emperor's army was restored. Then the world would still be ruled by the Lu family. After Emperor Yi died, millions of people's wishes were added to his body. Although he couldn't become a great demon like Emperor Li, who was only one step away from entering the realm of forgetfulness, it was more than enough to become a true demon. When Bai Yanjun came to take his soul, the ghost of Emperor Yi asked him why he, the Yama king, broke his promise. However, the big ghost didn't remember why he had received the Yama king's promise. He remembered that after he questioned the Yama king, Bai Yanjun was also ashamed and said, "It's just fate." He said that since the Yama king didn't finish his life, he would make up for it with his own life. Emperor Ye's ghost was filled with hatred for the destruction of his country, and hatred for the Yama king for not keeping his promise. He thought that he was the emperor when he was alive, and had a higher chance of taking back his country. Now that he was dead, Even the people in the city were killed because of him. How could he be dismissed with some mean life? The Yama king thought about it, and changed his conditions. He said that he would allow him to be the emperor of the underworld in the city of Wei. The area within 100 li of the city of Wei would be his ghost country. As for the souls that died in the city of Wei, they were all counted as his people, and he would not allow them to reincarnate. He could be the emperor of this ghost country, for as long as he wanted. Emperor Yi was happy when he heard this. How was he different from the emperor of heaven? It was just that he had fewer magical powers, and a smaller territory. Thus he agreed. Who would have thought that after he agreed, half of what was originally a complete soul was immediately hooked away by Bai Yanjun. The remaining half became the big ghost that Li Yunxin had seen. It should have become a real ghost emperor. But it only became an empty realm, muddle-headed ghost cultivator. This ghost cultivator had some limited memories from when he was alive, so he unconsciously hated everything related to the Qing emperor. Before the great painter from the capital left, the Qing emperor had bestowed the golden seal. The big ghost had followed the Qing emperor's aura on the golden seal to find him. Without any explanation, it had killed him. However, the big ghost was hiding from its dragon son. Coincidentally, it learned that there was a Daotong master at the Baohua gathering, so it put on its skin and went. It thought that dragon son was also a demon. If he hid there, he wouldn't dare to come and capture it. The violent storm that night at the Baohua gathering had been because Dragon Sun had searched all over the city for it. That night, Bai Yanjun said to Li Yunxin that the big ghost did not harm people. This was the truth. This muddle-headed ghost only remembered that he was still the master of the city of Wei, and that the people in the city of Wei were all his people. He also brooded over the massacre in the city and blamed himself. Why would he eat his people? He would only harm the birds and beasts. Over a month after his death, the Taoist priests of the orthodoxy came and used Tao techniques to seal and suppress the deplorable palace. This ghost emperor could not even return to his home. The remaining memory and reason soon disappeared. Finally, it became a ball of resentful aura with some reason. Hundreds of years passed in the blink of an eye. If ordinary people asked it about these things, the big ghost wouldn't remember. But Li Yunxin had other ways. He tried hypnosis. He had done this many times in the past. The so-called completely forgotten things were actually hidden in the depths of consciousness. As long as it could be awakened, it didn't matter if it couldn't be remembered. Li Yunxin tried this ghost as a ball of chaotic memory. The result was unexpectedly good. It was that night that he promised to do the first thing for the poor ghost emperor. He broke the seal of Daotong that suppressed the abandoned palace for hundreds of years. A few days later, on the night when he rebuilt the Dharmakaya of Qi-Wen, he used the yang energy of 300,000 people in the city of Wei to break the hundreds of years-old prohibition seal. Because of him, the ghost emperor regained some consciousness and was able to return to the abandoned palace. He became his most reliable ally. He first took in the soul of the old beggar, then summoned the ghosts of the soldiers who were suppressed in the abandoned palace, and promised to return a favor. So after that, the ghost emperor, and even his subordinate Diwu Boyu became Li Yunxin's information source and intelligence center. As for the ghost emperor, he had indeed returned the favor on this day. After saying this, Li Yunxin stopped to take a breath and looked at Bai Yanjun. But I'm curious, why did you make a promise to the ghost emperor? After that, you clearly broke your promise once. Why did you harm him again? The White Hell Lord heaved a long sigh and stopped smiling. He turned around and said, the adopted daughter of Golden Rock, Bai Yunxin, stopped people outside the wilderness mountain. It wasn't because of you, right? No, Li Yunxin answered him. It was because of the ghost emperor. Do you know why? He refused to say. It's not that he didn't want to say, but he couldn't remember. I really can't remember. The White Hell Lord let out a shrill laugh. However, it sounded like self-deprecation or helplessness. The first time I granted him the prosperity of the nation, it was because of the adopted daughter of the Golden Rock. But the details, well, it's better if you don't know. Then the city of Wei was massacred, and the Emperor Yi was killed. In fact, it wasn't because I broke my promise, but it was really the right time. It's better if you don't know the details. Li Yunxin rolled her eyes. Then why don't you tell me something that I can know? Alas, what I can let you know is that the second time I didn't break my promise. Bai Yanjun squinted his eyes and smiled. I said I wouldn't hook his soul and let him reincarnate. I said I would give him 100 miles of the city of Wei, and all the souls in the city wouldn't reincarnate. Which one didn't I do? I just said to hook half of his soul, so that he would forget some things, and not become a great demon of the realm. And the souls of those who died didn't reincarnate. I just hooked them to the nether world. Bai Yanjun sighed again. But you did him a favor. He remembered your favor. He remembers your favor, and then asks me for his people. These millions of ghosts are the souls of those who died in the city of Wei in the past 400 years. I gave them all to him. It's not a breach of trust. So, Bai Yanjun sighed with a sad face and looked at Li Yunxin mischievously. These millions of souls were given to the Emperor of Ghost because of the promise, not because of you. If you really have a trump card in your hand, I suggest you use it as soon as possible. Look, the Taoist is coming. Right next to Li Yunxin, the raindrops quickly formed and formed a human silhouette. Chapter 194. The person who came was Kuan Wuxia, an hour after they parted. The moment the profound realm Taoist's clone appeared, he immediately said, Tell me about Tong Fu and Lu Ling. He said this hurriedly, as if he was afraid that he would go back on his words and couldn't take it back. Li Yunxin smiled. The Taoist couldn't resist the temptation. The first time he refused to listen was because it was related to the two sages. It would be strange if he wasn't afraid of two old monsters who had lived for 3,000 years. Once he heard that it was the two sages' private matter, he refused without thinking. But, because it was the two sages' private matter, who wouldn't want to know? A Taoist at the advanced mystical realm must have gone through many tribulations. But Li Yunxin felt that curiosity was definitely something. Curiosity was just a narrow form of survival desire. As long as he was alive and had reason, he would definitely be curious. Thus, the profound realm Taoist didn't ask about the two sages, but asked about Yunzi and Ling Kongzi. He lied to himself, and Li Yunxin was willing to help him. Otherwise, how could he use him to do things for him? A profound realm Taoist. What a rare opportunity and resources. He exhaled lightly, still sitting on the roof, and said, Cultivators talk about fate. I told you so many things before because I killed you Yunzi, and I don't want to get into a conflict with you again. When I was in the sky, it wasn't finished. Now that I'm on the ground, it's already finished. Now that you came to me and asked me about it, if you really want to know, I can't just give you my information for free. Kuan Wuxia looked at him. I'm a mystical realm cultivator. Don't act like that, friend. Li Yunxin didn't mind his words at all. You're in the advanced mystical realm, and I just entered the true realm. But what was the result? In the sky, you should have killed me, but you didn't. Now you're on the ground asking me. Everything is your own choice. If you're still fixated on realms and abilities, thinking that they can decide everything, and if you insist on looking at me like I'm a child, then there's nothing left for us to talk about. Why don't you just kill me and take my treasures? Isn't that simpler and more direct? But the problem was that in this world, force could not solve all problems. In fact, it can only solve very few problems. It had been a very, very long time since the sect leader of the Grotto Heaven had heard such words, to be taught a lesson. He was still a 15-year-old kid. However, after a moment of silence, Kuan Wuxia wasn't angry. Instead, he smiled. If you cultivate the Tao, you will be an even more outstanding person than Lu Ling. Unfortunately, he became a fiendish demon. All right, you can answer my first question. Yunzi is looking for the jade slip of illumination. Li Yunxin answered him immediately. But the news seems to come from another source. This sentence was cryptic. However, it was enough for Kuan Wuxia to understand that Ling Kongzi was also looking for the translucent jade slip. This also meant that the two saints were secretly searching for that thing. Translucent jade slip. Kuan Wuxia didn't seem to be unfamiliar with this name. He repeated it in a low voice and raised his head. That thing is in your hands. First tell me, what kind of person is my mother, Shang Guanyu? Li Yunqin didn't answer but asked a question instead. The heavy rain was still pouring down, but this question caused Kun Wuzi to be slightly stunned once again. You, the several hundred-year-old Lao Dao said hesitantly. Your parents actually didn't tell you? Never. Sigh. Lao Dao sighed. Ask me another question. The words he said and the way he spoke gave people an illusion, as if he wasn't a profound realm cultivator who might have killed Li Yunqin, but an old man who wasn't willing to talk about a certain topic. This attitude slightly surprised Li Yunqin, but it was also within his expectations. In the sky, when he mentioned his father Li Chunfeng, there was only astonishment in Kun Wuzi's eyes. But when he mentioned his mother, Shang Guanyu, the astonishment was mixed with some fear. Something that could make a profound realm Taoist feel fear must be an important matter. He never thought that the other party would really answer him. It was just to make the other party refuse, so that he could make another request. Thus, even if it was a little too much, the other party could accept it. Thus, Li Yunqin smiled and said, "Then accompany me to see an old guy." Kun Wuzi looked at him in surprise. After a while, he shook his head and smiled. "I didn't kill you for now. It's already a big concession. You should know that in your hands are the lives of 25 low-level cultivators of Daotong, a transcendent realm cultivator, and a true realm cultivator. Now you want to borrow I's power? Do you want I to go with you to see that Emperor Yi? This matter. Those 25 people are Yunzi's fault. I won't take it. And I'm not going to see the ghost emperor." Li Yunqin said seriously. "You are also interested in the jade slip of enlightenment, but it's not with me anymore. You also know that the jade slip of enlightenment stayed in Daotong and Kenzo for a while, but none of you can open it." "You can?" Kun Wuzi narrowed his eyes and looked at him. "I can," Li Yunqin said without hesitation. "That's something that even the two sages couldn't do. I find it hard to believe that you aren't bluffing. You also know that it's something that even the two sages couldn't do. Then the question is the person who created the jade slip of enlightenment really so much more powerful than the two sages that they couldn't do anything? That's obviously impossible. The answer is that the two sages couldn't find the right solution, but I have one." Li Yunqin stood up. "Accompany me to see the Lord Dongting. I want a man and something from him. At the Lord Dongting's place." Kun Wuzi's eyes lit up. Naturally, he didn't think that Li Yunqin would hand that thing over to him easily. But he didn't expect that he could find its whereabouts so easily. He thought that he would have to go through threats and bargaining. "There's nothing to hide. It's indeed at his place." Li Yunqin stood up and looked at Kun Wuzi solemnly. "But first, from now on, I hope that you can really understand one thing," Li Yunqin said in a deep voice. "I know how to open the jade slip of enlightenment. This is my trump card. Now that I'm telling you, you can make good use of it. I don't care about the twists and turns in Daotong, but from Yunzi's actions, from the perspective of human desires, and from your reaction today, it's definitely not an amicable one. You first refused to hear the secret of the two sages, and then regretted it. This means that a certain desire in your heart overpowered your respect for the two sages. So if you didn't excitedly run to the two sages to ask for credit the moment you returned to the mountain, you can't deny that my trump card is of great significance to you." Kun Wuzi smiled, but Li Yunqin didn't smile. He stood on the roof, facing Kun Wuzi, and said, "You have to know that the current me isn't the me that was chased by people, and I'm not the me that hid in this city. I'm now the Wei River Dragon King, a great demon of the realm of truth. I own the city of Wei, and I have a friend from the Ghost Emperor. I'm still the Dragon's son, and I know the secret that even the two sages want to know. This city of Wei and the Wei River will be my lair, and I also know Dao techniques. If that's the case, how do you see me?" The smile on Kun Wuzi's face slowly disappeared. He pondered for a while and let out a sigh. "We can't be allies. Even I talking to you like this is already going against the world's will. I don't expect to be friends. I'm just saying, you have to be careful with me." Li Yunqin pointed to the northwest. "If we do this together, it will be a good start. Even if we have to fight and kill each other in the future, at least we can get what we need before we both lose." "Both lose?" Kuan Wuzi smiled and shook his head, but in the end he said, I will go with you this time. When the rain reached the Dongting Lake, it had weakened a lot. Misty rain Dongting. This reminded Li Yunxin of the first time he met Red Lady. There was no misty rain that night, but it was still misty. And the second time he talked in the wooden pavilion by the lake, and listened to the chirping of cicadas under the bright sun. He stood in the wooden pavilion for a while, and then sighed in a low voice. The cultivator of the profound realm didn't know why he sighed, but he also looked at the Dongting and looked into the distance. If Ling can get it back, I can. Li Yunxin looked at him strangely. The person I want is not her. As for Lu Ling, you deal with it yourself. I've already told you that she is here. She wanted to kill me before, but I'm not that generous. He sighed again. I want that old thing's daughter. Chapter 195. Kuan Wuzi is a little surprised. After a while he asks, what do you mean? Literally. Li Yunxin remains silent for a while, and looks up at the sky. Then he whispers to himself, it's raining heavily. In this way, many houses in the city will collapse. After saying this, his eyes suddenly turn golden. Fine scales appear on his cheeks, and his black hair is mixed with white. Clouds and mist rise from his hair, like white hair fluttering and turning into mist. Stop, he shouts in a low voice. The rain by Dongting Lake immediately stops. It turns from light rain to drizzle, and then into scattered raindrops. The thick clouds in the sky roll away, shrink, and turn into wisps of white clouds. And the gray color that fades from the clouds seems to run into Li Yunxin's hair. The original black and white hair turns black again. The fine scales on his cheeks also fade, and the golden color in his eyes also fades. He becomes a handsome young man again. As the thick clouds disperse, the sun comes out. Unfortunately, it's not the sun anymore. He and Yunzi fought in the afternoon, and now it's almost dusk. The sky is dim, and the sun sets in the west of the distant mountain. There is a whole red cloud on the mountain. Li Yunxin sighs. What a pity. Then he raises his head and takes a step forward, shouting in the direction of Mount Jun and Dongting Lake. I am Li Yunxin, the Wei River Dragon King. Where is the Lord Dongting? Come out and meet me. His voice rolled out as if it had substance, dispersing the mist on the surface of the lake. Wind and ripples appear on the water surface, and the flowers and trees near the Dragon King temple are shaken. People in Egret town also hear the sound, but they dare not come out to have a look. Although this place is far from the city of Wei, the thunder and golden light of the fight between Li Yunxin and Yunzi can be seen. At this moment, hearing the muffled sound, even the most materialistic people should realize that someone with the omnipotent has made such a big scene. It was also very likely that he was the Dragon King they had been worshipping for more than a month. However, the sound startled birds, beasts, and humans. It even broke through the mist on the surface of the lake, but the Lord Dongting did not appear. Li Yunxin quietly waited for 3 breaths of time before shouting again. There was still no response. He turned to look at Kuan Wuzi. I'm not giving you any face. The profound realm Taoist thought for a moment and asked Li Yunxin, is Ling really in this lake? Her cultivation was destroyed by Bai Yunxin, but her soul was left behind by a magic treasure. I saw her in the lake before. She's in Muyin. Do you know what Muyin is? Kuan Wuzi remained silent, but his expression gradually turned gloomy. It was obvious that he knew about the past. He stared at the deep lake and said in a low voice, then I'll have to offend you. This sound didn't seem to be directed at Li Yunxin. Although the voice was low, it was unexpectedly clear and loud. Then he took a step forward and reached out his hand. It was the first time for Li Yunxin to see the means of a profound realm cultivator. Kuan Wuzi's hand was white and thin, as if his knuckles were angular. First, he put his palm up and slanted forward, as if he was inserting it under something. After another breath, he suddenly turned it over. Li Yunxin gasped, because he saw the sky above Dongting Lake. The sky was originally close to dusk, but now the blue color is a little yellow. However, the moment Kuan Wuzi turned his palm over, the sky suddenly darkened, because the lake water ran to the sky, as if the sky and the earth had been turned upside down. A thin mirror-like water surface appeared in the sky, extending from here to very far away. Li Yunxin guessed that the size of the water should be the same as the Dongting Lake on the ground. Kuan Wuxi turned the water surface of the Dongting Lake to the sky. But things were not as simple as he thought. The next moment, the water in the sky began to pour. It was not a drizzle, nor was it a torrential downpour. Even the violent rain that Li Yunxin did at the Weishui River in the city of Wei couldn't be compared with this momentum. The water in the entire Dongting Lake, from the water surface above the sky, poured down. If this Dongting Lake was round, then there was one more pillar between the sky and the earth at this moment. If this Dongting Lake was square, then there was one more square pillar between the sky and the earth at this moment. The water in the sky hit the surface of the lake with a roar, making a loud noise that shook the earth. First, the branches and leaves of the flowers and trees fell one after another, and then the temple of the Dragon King collapsed in a violent earthquake. When water met water, the energy burst out like an explosion. The waves of water in all directions were like a sputtering torrent of metal, and the torrent was extremely sharp. The wooden pavilion they were in was close to the lake. Only for a moment, the wooden pavilion was completely destroyed by the rushing water, turning into the tiniest pieces. Both of them were submerged in the water. Kuan Wuxi was fine, but even Li Yunxin's strong body, there was a crisscross bloodstain on his chest. He had never seen such a strange scene. The water column stood between the sky and the earth as if it was frozen. But in fact, the water in the Dongting Lake was carried to the sky by some mysterious and powerful force, and then it fell back into the lake. But even so, the water level of the lake didn't rise, and it even dropped slightly. It was really the water in the lake. Li Yunxin had retreated dozens of steps, but the terrible sound still numbed his ears. The sound of a huge waterfall is like thunder, let alone the water of the entire Dongting pouring down from the very high sky. Such a loud sound and sound wave. He subconsciously looked behind him. The temple of the Dragon King had collapsed. Everything that was visible to the naked eye by the lakeside had disappeared. The earth was still shaking and trembling. The houses in Egret town couldn't withstand such a violent vibration. Maybe many people would die. Kuan Wuxi was still standing beside him with his hands behind his back, looking at the water column in the sky calmly. In fact, even though they had already retreated dozens of steps, the huge and boundless water column was still like a high wall in their field of vision, as if it would collapse the next moment and engulf them in the terrifyingly deep water. And the two of them were like two ants. You will realize something when you reach the mysterious realm. Kuan Wuxi was silent for a while, and then said in a deep voice, "Realize that those below the mysterious realm are nothing more than people in the secular world. And in the true realm, you can barely grasp some power. But it's not worth mentioning." He looked at Li Yunxin sideways. "You said that I didn't respect you. At this moment, you should know what kind of respect I have shown you before." Li Yunxin stared at the terrible wonder in front of him for a while, and then said calmly, "Power doesn't mean everything." Kuan Wuxi smiled. "That's why you are a rare smart person. That's why I didn't kill you, just because of what you said." Before Li Yunxin had time to answer him, a more terrible sound came from the sky. The water seemed to have flowed out. The water column between the sky and the earth was shrinking rapidly, because the water surface above the sky disappeared. The last bit of water was poured down and quickly fell into the lake. And in the water, Li Yunxin saw an incomparably huge figure. He turned into his real body, which was as long as 300 meters. 300 meters? What kind of concept was that? Maybe the length was not very intuitive, but in terms of height, it was roughly equivalent to a 300-story skyscraper in his previous world. An adult man standing in front of the dragon body of 300 meters was like a grain of dust. However, the huge figure that appeared in the water of Dongting Lake at this moment couldn't even be described with the word huge. The water column that was shrinking rapidly was like a fish tank standing on the vast land, and the big fish was kept in the fish tank. But it was not so much kept in the fish tank, but it was more like a cage, because it was as big as half of the fish tank, and even one of its tentacles was as long as Li Yunxin's real body. The big fish was red all over, and even its belly was dark golden red. One scale on its body was as big as the entire egret town, and the scales emitted a faint golden light in the water, as if they were mixed with gold powder. Its huge mouth could occupy the sight of 2 people, but the darkness in its mouth was bottomless. It was definitely not darkness that could be formed by shadows. It didn't look any different from a scarlet carp, but such a big carp had already exceeded any common sense. Li Yunxin knew that this was the real body of Lord Dongting, but such a big fish that was poured out by Kun Wuxia from the sky only appeared in front of them for a short moment. Almost as soon as Li Yunxin saw it clearly, the big fish disappeared. A dazzling red light appeared in the air, and quickly turned into a human figure. It was the Taoist Li that Li Yunxin saw on Mount June. This Lord Dongting didn't say anything after he appeared. Only when the lake water returned to the lake with a roar did he appear by Dongting Lake with a flash of red light. Li Yunxin stared at his feet. He was about 3 meters away from the lake. The rumor was true. His nest was turned upside down, but he still didn't go more than 3 meters away from Dongting Lake. Kun Wuxia was in the mysterious realm. It was said that Lord Dongting was also in the mysterious realm, but no one knew which stage of the mysterious realm he was in. Anyway, the mysterious realm Taoist's seemingly easy method had left a terrible and deep impression in Li Yunxin's heart. And Lord Dongting, a monster in the mysterious realm, who could trap it in this Dongting Lake for 2,000 years. At this moment, Lord Dongting was furious, and his whole body was glowing with red light. He raised his eyebrows, and his nostrils, which were not small, became bigger because of extreme anger. When he learned of Tan Wen's death, he exhaled steaming mist, but now even the mist became light red, like a cloud of fire. Kun Wuxia, how dare you? Lord Dongting's voice was like the friction of charcoal, as if every word would make sparks spluttering in the air. I didn't want to talk to you, but you came to me. You are too much. The mysterious realm Taoist just smiled. Lord Dongting is also bold. He dared to embezzle our Daotong magic treasure and trap our Daotong cultivators. As far as I know, he also wants Muyun. Kun Wuxia's voice became low. Lord Dongting, don't you know that there is a way to die? The 2 powerful figures in the mysterious realm confronted each other. Li Yunxin took 2 steps back and said nothing. Hearing Kun Wuxia's threat, Lord Dongting was so angry that he laughed. Your Daotong cultivator Ling Kongzi killed Qi, one of my water nationality. Now you dare to come to me and ask for an explanation? Daotong is strong and can be unreasonable. But in front of me, I'm not afraid of you being unreasonable. This Dongting has a radius of thousands of miles. I have been managing it for 3,000 years. Do you think my mysterious realm monster body is like those little demons that you can bully and kill? Kun Wuxia glanced at Li Yunxin and said. Li Yunxin didn't have time to stop him. Qi? Kun Wuxia sneered. But she is still alive. But it's not your fault. Even I don't know how he took Qi-Wen's body. If I didn't see it with my own eyes, I wouldn't even think in that direction. Since this little friend can take Qi-Wen's body, he must be able to kill her too. In my opinion, my Daotong's Ling Kongzi and your water nationality's Qi-Wen were both tricked by him. Instead of venting your anger on me, why don't you vent it on him? For a moment, Li Yunxin really wanted to show his real body and escape back to the city of Wei. He didn't figure out Kun Wuxia. At least he didn't catch him completely. He didn't know that Kun Wuxia's words to Lord Dongting, saying that he took Qi-Wen's body and set up Ling Kongzi, were unintentional, and that Kun Wuxia really wanted to hurt him. Maybe as a mysterious realm cultivator, he had been used to great power and was not good at tricks. As a result, the matter of seizing Qi-Wen's body and plotting against Ling Kongzi was already an insignificant detail to him, something that he could casually mention. It was also possible that he really wanted to bring trouble to himself. Li Yunxin would tell him about it sooner or later, but not now. He wanted to use the momentum of killing Yunzi to make Kun Wuxia talk with him temporarily. Then he would use Kun Wuxia's momentum to talk to Lord Dongting, to get back what he wanted and get back the person he wanted. With enough understanding, he could guide him according to the situation. Kun Wuxia should know all this. But now, he didn't care about his situation and just casually said it as an interesting matter. Li Yunxin sneered in his heart. Before leaving the city, he told Kun Wuzi some words on the roof of Wang Sheng's calligraphy shop. He hoped that Kun Wuzi could face the power he had. But at that time, Kun Wuzi only smiled faintly, and Li Yunxin wasn't sure if Kun Wuzi really took it to heart. And just now, this mysterious realm Taoist showed his magical power, and told Li Yunxin, those below the mysterious realm are nothing more than mortals. And now, Li Yunxin completely understood. He didn't win the mysterious realm Taoist's respect from the beginning. Maybe Kun Wuzi didn't make a move because of some things he knew. But it didn't mean that he regarded him as a well-matched opponent. He took a deep breath and sneered in his heart again. This feeling wasn't good. Furthermore, he would never be like a child who begged the adults bitterly, throwing a tantrum, and throwing things to tell the adults, I'm really not a child anymore. He would never say the same words to Kun Wuzi again. He would use something real to make this profound realm Taoist pay the price for underestimating him. He would also teach him a lesson, to let him know that he could have been his ally once, but his foolish and stubborn arrogance had ruined that opportunity. It might be tomorrow, or it might be 10 years later, but no matter what, he wasn't a generous person. Chapter 196. However, Li Yunxin didn't leave this place in the end, because he was now sure that the restriction imposed on Lord Dongting was something that he couldn't break no matter what. Then he would just have to face the worst result. Anyway, his life had never been smooth, but after 2 breaths, he and Kun Wuzi were slightly surprised, because of Lord Dongting's reaction. After hearing Kun Wuzi's words, this big demon of the water tribe was stunned for a while. The flame-like mist around him suddenly disappeared without a trace. He opened his mouth wide like a fish that couldn't breathe. Not dead. Have you seen it with your own eyes? Where is it? Kun Wuzi frowned slightly. Because he had said it clearly just now, Li Yunxin took Qi Wen's body. Therefore, the content of Lord Dongting's 3 questions sounded like sarcasm, but his tone and expression didn't seem to be sarcasm at all. And Jinjin was very, very concerned about where Qi Wen was. So after a moment of hesitation, Kun Wuzi said again tentatively, I have said it very clearly. Qi Wen is not dead. But she is not the Qi Wen you know. This little kid set up a scheme to take her body. This time, he even raised his hand and pointed at Li Yunxin. Li Yunxin sneered, remembering everything that had happened at this moment in her heart. But it seemed that Kun Wuzi didn't care about what he thought. And Lord Dongting didn't care about it either. Instead, he raised his eyebrows again and shouted angrily, Don't be deliberately mystifying. If you dare to use this to make fun of me, no matter what kind of Taoist master you are, I will make sure that you can't walk out of this Dongting. Where on earth is he? Kun Wuzi finally turned his head and looked at Li Yunxin. They saw the surprise in each other's eyes. Lord Dongting was not a stupid demon. Li Yunxin had dealt with him before. He knew that even if he wasn't a schemer, he wouldn't be unable to understand a single sentence. As for Kun Wuzi, he understood the Lord Dongting even more. He knew that this demon was not someone easy to deal with. But now, if the Lord Dongting wasn't deliberately mystifying things, then something unexpected must have happened that even profound realm cultivators couldn't figure out. Without waiting for Kun Wuzi to speak again, Li Yunxin looked at Lord Dongting and said calmly, The 9th young master is already dead. I plotted to kill him, and then I took his house. Now I am Qi Wen. Lord Dongting finally turned his face to Li Yunxin. He stared at him for a while and sneered. I don't know what method you used to produce dragon qi in your body, but you are not hatred. He looked at Li Yunxin gloomily. But you are indeed a Yin god and not a human. What are you planning? They were not on the same channel. This was the only thought in Li Yunxin's mind. The conversation between the 3 people had an unexpected and strange situation. So far, Li Yunxin's conclusion was that as long as the topic was related to taking over Dragon Sun's body, it would be automatically ignored by Lord Dongting. And this strange situation was far beyond the understanding of ordinary people. But in the field that he had been involved in, it was achievable. But the problem was that in his previous world, It was quite difficult to achieve this, no matter what kind of intervention method was used. The physical and psychological state of the person being interfered with, as well as many other external factors, would directly affect the result. Not to mention this world, a great demon like Lord Dongting. Before today, Li Yunxin had never truly seen the power of a high-level cultivator. Yunzi could be considered a high-level cultivator, but his stupidity and arrogance sent him into a trap, and the power he displayed in the battle was not even 1/10 of his own. But today Li Yunxin saw Quan Wuxi's means. The power of high-level cultivators was not in the aspect of power. It was not something that could be summarized as tyrannical, extremely fast, and abundant spiritual power. And this kind of Lord Dongting, how could such a situation appear in his body? The unhappiness caused by Quan Wuxi's contempt was quickly replaced by surprise. And this surprise was positive and positive. Li Yunxin took another step forward and stared at Lord Dongting. I took over Qi Wen's body. Lord Dongting also stared at him and sneered. You don't want to say anything? Humph. Do you think that I will be afraid of a Taoist just because you brought him here? Li Yunxin turned around and looked at Quan Wuxi. What's going on? The profound realm Taoist's face did not look good. He looked at Li Yunxin, then looked at Quan Wuxi, frowned and said, You too. The two of us are not in cahoots. Li Yunxin said sincerely. However, his words couldn't refute the truth. A profound realm great demon seemed to be controlled by some kind of mysterious power, acting like a puppet that could be toyed with by anyone. This matter made Quan Wuxi, who was also a profound realm cultivator, feel uneasy. Profound realm Taoists could be fearless when they thought that they could understand and control something. But profound realm Taoists also cherished their lives more than anyone else. When a situation that they could not completely understand appeared, one's life was not something that could be casually risked, especially when one had already spent hundreds of years of effort on this matter. Thus, after Quan Wuxi remained silent for a few breaths, Li Yunxin had a bad premonition. This profound realm Taoist seemed to be planning to leave. Just like how he didn't immediately kill a demon that had just advanced to the true realm because of the Great Formation. Now he was also planning to leave because of a little unexpected situation. This was an overly cautious Taoist. Fortunately, this kind of virtue did not exist on Yunzi back then. Lord Dongting is also aware of the weird situation now. He did not speak, instead calming down from his extreme anger. Similarly, he wanted to understand what had happened between the three of them. However, Quan Wuxi finally opened his mouth. Ridiculous. After saying this, he raised his hand, as if he was about to leave. It was at this critical moment that a sentence escaped from Li Yunxin's mouth. This time, Quan Wuxi heard his words, and so did Lord Dongting. It was clear and short, but neither of them could clearly hear what he wanted to say. It seemed to be another kind of language. Li Yunxin repeated that sentence. Then he raised his hand and wrote a few symbols in the air. This is the restriction of the Jade Slip of Clarity. Do you know that the Jade Slip of Clarity has a restriction? Just as he expected, this sentence stopped Quan Wuxi. The profound realm Taoist slowly lowered his hand and shouted in a low voice, I don't want to know about this. But you already know, Li Yunxin immediately replied him. And at the same time, he turned to Lord Dongting. You should also know, the Jade Slip of Clarity is with you. You must have played with it before. After playing with it, your demonic energy will open it. Then have you seen this line of words? The line of words that he wrote with his spiritual energy in the air was actually floating there. Lord Dongting only took a glance at the line of words, and his face revealed a shocked expression. That thing is the Jade Slip of Clarity. Look, I'm telling the truth. Li Yunxin spread out his hand toward Quan Wuxi. The Jade Slip of Clarity is with him. And I've seen the Jade Slip of Clarity before, so I know what the restriction is. He then turned to Lord Dongting. It is indeed this thing, the relic of the Art Saint. The thing that the two sages are looking for. It has been in Daotong for a very long time, and no one has been able to open it. Even if they could open it, they wouldn't be able to break the restriction. Now that it is in your hands, you're in big trouble. Quan Wuxi might not be able to do anything to you. But since the two sages are here personally, you won't be able to do anything. Lord Dongting was stunned on the spot, and he blinked his big eyes. I'm here for this thing, Li Yunxin said to him. And also Red Lady, leave both of them to me. And I won't tell anyone that you have it. Kuan Wuzi can be your guarantor. However, after hearing his words, Kuan Wuzi and Lord Dongting almost snorted coldly at the same time. What does this have to do with I? Lord Dongting also sneered. You little god. How would I know that you didn't see the jade slip by chance? And then casually made up some strange story to deceive us. My daughter, give it to you. What a joke. Are you going to help me? Li Yunxin sighed and turned to look at Kuan Wuzi. The profound realm Taoist smiled. The current situation is not within I's expectations. If you can explain clearly, this old thing must have been bewitched previously. Then I will only consider it for a while. Don't force me. Li Yunxin took a step forward and stared at Kuan Wuzi, then at Lord Dongting. I don't need the jade slip of clarity today, but Red Lady must have it today. Kuan Wuzi stopped smiling. So what if I force you? Red Lady. Could it be that she has become your tribulation or inner demon? And you have just entered the true realm, and your realm is not stable. So you want to quickly settle her matter? Hehe. In that case, I want to see how you are going to convince this old thing. I have already called him out from his nest. Isn't that enough? Li Yunxin shook his head speechlessly and sighed. He remained silent for a while, then looked at the two profound realm experts in front of him and sneered. The two of you seem to want to see me make a fool of myself. I can't defeat you, so I still have to beg you. But let me tell you, even a rabbit will bite when it's anxious. Kuan Wuzi sneered. Li Yunxin ignored him and looked at Lord Dongting first. First of all, you have to know that the two sages really don't want others to know that they want the jade slip of clarity. That's why I wrote those words just now. That's why this person had such a blind dog's eyes. Then he looked at Kuan Wuzi. The two sages have been working for so long, but still haven't opened the jade slip. It's because of this matter. He raised his hand and pointed at the line of words that was still floating in the air. Then he said slowly and clearly, this line of words means, how are you? This is the Rakshasa language. Writing, how are you? Once the jade slip of clarity is open, dozens of small spots of light will appear on it. The key to unlocking this restriction lies in those spots of light. Before Kuan Wuzi could say anything, Li Yunxin had already raised his hand again and quickly wrote a second line of words in the air. Then this line of words will be able to undo the restriction. Writing, I'm fine. Thank you. What I mean is I'm fine. Thank you. It's that simple. You just didn't find the right method. A strange expression appeared on Li Yunxin's face, as if he really wanted to laugh out loud. But at this moment, he had no choice but to maintain a cold and serious expression. Now the two of you know how to undo the restriction, but the two sages still don't. Do the two of you know what this means? The strange silence lasted for 3 breaths of time. You brat, you tricked me. Kuan Wuzi took a deep breath and looked at Li Yunxin. Lord Dongting also widened his eyes. He looked at Li Yunxin, then at Kuan Wuzi, as if he was hesitating whether he should make a decision or not. You forced me to do this. Do you think I'm willing to use this trump card? Li Yunxin laughed coldly. Now the two of you know how to undo the restriction. You might even doubt whether I'm telling the truth or not. Don't worry, let me tell you, it's absolutely true. If you don't believe me, you can go back and ask the two sages. But the problem is, the two of them want this item. If the Daotong and Kenzo work together, obtaining this jade slip of clarity would be as easy as blowing off dust. But they still allowed it to wander outside for so long. And even now, they are still acting in secret. This means that this jade slip contains something that they don't want others to see. But now the two of you already know how to open it, before they did. Li Yunxin sneered. Maybe the result wasn't so bad. Your two superiors only reprimanded you for a while, and let the matter go. I believe that you really didn't have the guts to open the jade slip and look at it. Or hehe. You said that I'm like an ant. But in the eyes of the two sages, what are you? Kuan Wuzi remained silent. After a while he said, I can still kill you now. Then Lord Dongting will probably be very happy to spread this information and kill you. Or maybe, you don't know that I didn't arrange it beforehand. After I die, someone will still spread this information to the world. Li Yunxin turned to Lord Dongting and stretched out his hand. Give me the jade slip. The profound realm demon's expression kept changing, as if he was still hesitating. Li Yunxin looked at him and said, There's a 50% chance that what I said is true. If what I said is true, then there's a 50% chance that the two sages will personally come to get it and kill you. In the most optimistic estimation, there's only a 25% chance that you'll die. But the problem is, do you dare to play with your life? Give it to me. After such a stern shout, Lord Dongting finally glared at him and stretched out his hand. Then a transparent, small treasure appeared in his palm. Li Yunxin calmly looked at the treasure and smiled. Mr. Kuan, have you seen it clearly? This is the translucent jade slip. Do you want it? Kuan Wuxi's expression was very unsightly, but he didn't say anything. Li Yunxin laughed out loud. That's right. You don't dare to take it. I'm the two sages, so I'll definitely think that you've peeked at the thing inside. You don't dare to bet on that 25% chance. After saying that, he stretched out his hand. Lord Dongting immediately throws the jade slip to him, and then lets out a sigh of relief imperceptibly. It was as if he had thrown away a soldering iron. Li Yunxin held the jade slip in his hand. Finally, in his heart, he also let out a long sigh. His tense body relaxed. Finally, he got it back. But Kuan Wuxi was still looking at him. Lord Dongting was also looking at him. The gazes of the two profound realm experts were like ferocious beasts that had locked onto their prey. They took in Li Yunxin's every move. Li Yunxin knew what they were waiting for. He infused his demonic energy into the jade slip. Then the jade slip lit up. A ray of light flashed across the jade slip, and heavenly music sounded. Lord Dongting might have already tried it, but it seemed to be the first time Kuan Wuxi had seen it. He opened his eyes wide and took in every detail. Then he saw the first line of words written by Li Yunxin. It was exactly the same. Then, he saw Li Yunxin touch the dozens of small spots of light below the first line of words 18 times. Then he raised his head and looked at Kuan Wuxi and Lord Dongting. I'm going to undo it. He touched the jade slip again. The two lines of words and the spots of light disappeared, and the surface of the jade slip turned light yellow. A few small square-shaped patterns appeared. Li Yunxin wiped the jade slip with his hand, and it became a small transparent object again. I've undone the restrictions set by the painting saint. He smiled. I'll ask you one last time. Do you still want this thing? Kuan Wuxi snorted. It's true, but you probably don't have long to live. After saying this, he smiled. I won't kill you. Lord Dongting probably won't either. But everyone in the world will know that the translucent jade slip is in your hands. The two sages will know soon as well, when that time comes. So this is my condition, both of you. Li Yunxin said calmly. From the day I knew that the two sages wanted this thing, I never thought that I would be able to live comfortably. I also knew that sooner or later, the whole world would know about this. But at least before the two sages or the two sages people find me, I want you to protect me and not be disturbed by those idiots who think they're smart. Do this, and when the day comes, I won't talk about the two of you. You can sleep peacefully. I know what you're going to say, but why should you believe me? I also have the same question. Why should I believe that you will protect me? But my advantage is that I'm 15 years old this year. You two are more than 3,000 years old, and one is a few hundred years old. If we die together. I have the guts and the means to drag you down with me. If the two of you think that you're ruthless enough, you can give it a try. Li Yunxin smiled lightly. After all, a man should be ruthless to himself. Kuan Wuxi finally restrained his expression and looked deeply at Li Yunxin. Good. You're indeed an ambitious person. Li Yunxin tilted his head. What about you? The profound realm demon looked at Kuan Wuxi, then at Li Yunxin. He realized that this shouldn't be a trap set by the other party. Kuan Wuxi was famous for cherishing his life and being cautious. He would never use himself as a bait. He hesitated for a moment, then said in a deep voice, Tell me first. You said that Chi-Wen is still alive. What's going on? It's because I took his body, but you can't hear it. Li Yunxin sighed. Give me Red Lady first, then we'll talk about this. Let's talk about Chi-Wen first. Li Yunxin stared at him for a while, then helplessly put his hand into his pocket. After feeling it for a while, he frowned and said, Damn it. Then he stretched out his hand in front of Lord Dongting and opened it. There was a reverse scale in his palm. Lord Dongting stared at the reverse scale for a while, then suddenly raised his head. This is? Give me Red Lady first, Li Yunxin said calmly. Then I'll tell you the truth. Chapter 197. Kuan Wuxi sneered. Wails and cries could be heard from afar. Cultivators had good hearing, so they could hear it clearly. It was the people of Egret crying. The power of the profound realm cultivator caused the ground beside Dongting Lake to be shaken, creating several bottomless cracks. In this era, houses made of earth and stone were not very resistant to earthquakes. It was almost dusk, and many people had started to return home. There must be a lot of casualties. However, Kuan Wuxi didn't care at all. After all, no one like Ling Kongzi would tell him the first commandment. He watched Li Yunxin and Lord Dongting, as if they were watching a play. He didn't care about Lu Ling, who was imprisoned by Lord Dongting. Ling Kongzi, who was at the peak of the transcendent realm, was indeed worth caring about, because it meant that there might be one more true realm cultivator in Langya Cave abode in Daotong. A true realm cultivator was a deterrent. However, Ling Kongzi, whose ocean of qi and mountain of snow had been destroyed, and whose soul was hidden in the bell, he was an existence that did not matter. She is my daughter. Lord Dongting hadn't calmed down yet, and his eyes were still fixed on the reverse scale in Li Yunxin's hand. It seemed that he wanted to reach out, but he was hindered by the restriction. Don't think that what she said to you is true love. I taught her a lesson, but she was still my daughter. It's not your turn. I just want to talk to her and see if she is safe. Li Yunxin took back his hand and put the reverse scale back into his pocket. We are partners now. I think you won't refuse my little request. When he said this, he closed his eyes slightly. When Kuan Wuxi saw his actions, he sneered. He wasn't the kind of person who liked to show his emotions on the surface. But the problem was that no one had ever made him, a dignified profound realm Taoist, suffer losses again and again. Therefore, when he saw Li Yunxin's action, he only thought that he was really aroused. At this moment, he really wanted to use this action to calm the surging emotions in his heart. At the very least, in his opinion, people who couldn't let go of the relationship between a man and a woman would definitely not have a very strong Tao heart. However, Li Yunxin was a fiendish demon, so he probably didn't have a Tao heart. Kuan Wuxi was swayed by irrational emotions, while Lord Dongting was concerned about the reverse scale it had just seen. Both of them were profound realm experts, and they were usually very meticulous people. However, in the confrontation just now, a mere true state fiendish demon had left the two of them at their wits' end, and they had no choice but to temporarily reach a compromise with him. The psychological impact of this experience made them neglect many things at this moment. At this moment, both of them were intentionally or unintentionally releasing the intense emotions they had just endured and were in a state of extreme relaxation. They didn't seem to realize this. Therefore, they didn't pay much attention to what Li Yunxin did when he closed his eyes. He opened his folding fan and hurriedly waved it twice in front of him. This action was too common among scholars. When they were anxious, they would subconsciously do this action. Therefore, they didn't notice that after Li Yunxin opened his folding fan, he quickly glanced at the surface of the fan. It was originally a white paper fan, but now, it had turned into a colorful landscape painting. In the landscape painting, there was an inconspicuous little person, but now, there seemed to be another figure. But it was an extremely faint shadow, as if the shadow was cast by his hair on the fan. And that shadow seemed to be coming here. After Li Yunxin said that, Lord Dongting rolled his eyes and said, Even if you want to see him, you can't see him today. If you really want to see him, then come tomorrow at noon. Since you don't want to talk to me about Chiwen now, then let's talk tomorrow. After saying this, he turned around and said, "This matter is over. Forgive me for not accompanying you." As soon as he finished his words, his figure instantly disappeared and melted into the lake. Kuan Wuzi frowned slightly. The old man left so suddenly. A moment ago, he was looking at the reverse scale in Li Yunxin's hand with such an eager and intense look. But the next moment, he suddenly said a few words and left. As soon as such a question arose in his mind, he heard Li Yunxin sneer. "He is smart." Kuan Wuzi said with doubt. Li Yunxin looked around and found a boulder that was shaken out of the ground and sat down. "Because this matter is not over yet. Look at this pot." He stretched out his hand and drew the whole Dongting, the egret town in the distance, the wild forest, and even the city of Wei in the distance. "Who will carry it?" "I planned to ask Yunzi to carry it. But now we are good friends, so I can't do that. Of course it can't be me. Then, someone has to be responsible for this matter." Li Yunxin raised his head and squinted at the ruins of the egret town in the distance. There was only smoke here. It should be that someone was making a fire to cook, and the house was shaken down and caught fire. He waved his hand casually. Scales quickly appeared on his arm, and then faded away. But a rain cloud had formed over the egret town, and it was drizzling. The black smoke disappeared after a while. "So you want to put the blame on him?" Kuan Wuzi asked. "Yes. But he can't get out of the inhibition of Dongting. Everyone in the world knows this." Li Yunxin's lips showed a slightly mocking smile. "You said that as long as Daotong believes it, it's okay. It doesn't matter whether he can get out of the inhibition or not. If you say he did it, no one will think that a profound realm immortal will frame him with such a low-level reason. You just need to make sure that no one disturbs me during this period. When the two sages, or their people come to find me, these things are not important anymore. Things are not as simple as you think." Kuan Wuzi looked at the Dongting. "Don't think that this old thing is an ordinary demon. Some of his secrets, probably even the two sages don't know very clearly." After saying this, he was silent for a while. Then he said, "There is another person who is more suitable." A fleeting smile flashed in Li Yunxin's eyes. But then he frowned and opened the folding fan again. "Another person? Don't think about my people. I will never harm my own people at this time." Kuan Wuzi smiled. "None of your subordinates can handle such a huge matter. What I want to say." Li Yunxin opened his eyes wide. "Ling Kongzi." It was a stupid idea, but he still had to say it. Because that figure hadn't come here yet. When he fought with Yunzi, they had sex. Everyone should know that dragons were here. And that Lord Dongting also regarded him as hatred that night. But when he saw him again, but she bluntly told him that he was not Yazi. He must have known something. And just now, that figure appeared in Li Yunxin's painting. The painting of mountains and rivers, which was made with the strength of the profound realm in an instant, could draw Yunzi's ghost in it. Naturally, it could show him many things. There were no satellites in this era. But now Li Yunxin's folding fan had become something similar. The land around the city of Wei was on his folding fan. Then, the faint figure that appeared on the fan meant that there was spiritual energy, or resentment in that guy's body, that Li Yunxin used to set up the array. In other words, when Li Yunxin was setting up the array, that person absorbed part of the resentment of the millions of ghost soldiers. But fortunately, it didn't affect the overall situation. And now this guy was coming here. Earlier, hatred was injured and disappeared. And this Kuan Wuzi suddenly appeared near the city of Wei. Li Yunxin already knew who it was. He was unfamiliar, second brother. The real hatred. Therefore, when Kuan Wuzi heard his words, he was slightly stunned. Then he sneered, "You demon! Why are you so stupid now? Do you know that there is a big demon in the Wei River?" Li Yunxin opened his innocent and clear eyes and quickly glanced at the fan. "Who? No. Let me guess. Is it that Ghost Emperor?" "No. That's also my friend." Kuan Wuzi couldn't stand his sudden stupidity and sneered. Just when Li Yunxin looked at the fan for the third time, and closed it without batting an eyelid, he said, "Hee, that Ghost Emperor is not important enough. I mean hatred. That cheap second brother of yours." Li Yunxin was stunned for a while, then he straightened his face and said in a deep voice, "No, absolutely not. As a dragon's, I am related to hatred by blood. Maybe there will be fights and schemes in the future, but at least at this moment, I will not do such a thing." Kuan Wuxi was stunned by his righteous actions and words, as if he had seen a ghost. To him, seeing a ghost was more normal than this. He frowned. "Are you making fun of me?" "I am serious," Li Yunxin said seriously. "Although I look like an unscrupulous bad guy, I'm a good, upright, and kind young man in my bones. If I do such a thing, how can I live in the demon world in the future? Speaking of me, oh, that guy, the guy who killed his own brother. You cultivators think that demons are heartless, but are they really heartless? The 9 sons of the Dragon Emperor have been living in peace for 1 to 2,000 years. If they are really heartless, even if there are other great demons in the world, how hard is it to kill Qi when in the transcendent state?" Li Yunxin sighed. "So, not only can I not push this matter to him, but once he comes to Wei River, I have to protect him. First, it is always a wise choice to build a relationship with a strong one. Second," Li Yunxin raised his head and looked at Kuan Wuxi sincerely. "After all, we are blood brothers." Kuan Wuxi looked at Li Yunxin as if he was looking at an idiot. You are a demon who has taken over my body. Do you really think that you are dragons?" Li Yunxin looked at him blankly. What body taking over? This matter sounds… why can't I remember?" Kuan Wuxi's expression changed instantly. His body flashed and appeared in front of Li Yunxin. He grabbed his hand and shouted, "You can't remember? Body taking over?" He shouted, "You were originally a human, but you schemed to take over Qi Wen's body. Before that, he was called the 9th Young Master, also a great demon. What did you say?" Li Yunxin frowned, as if he was thinking about what Kuan Wuxi said, and some things in the past. But in just a few sentences his frown disappeared. Looking at Kuan Wuxi now, it seemed that he was even more unreasonable. "What 9th Young Master? My name is Li Yunxin Qi Wen, one of the 9 sons of the Dragon Emperor." He forcefully shook off Kuan Wuxi's hand. The body of a profound state Taoist was strong, so it was not easy to get rid of him. But now, Kuan Wuxi looked at him in disbelief. He even forgot to use his strength, and let Li Yunxin get rid of his hand. Li Yunxin retreated a few steps, then frowned and looked at him. "Then who do you think it should be? But no matter who it is, don't have any ideas about the dragons." Kuan Wuxi stared at him for a while, then said in a low voice, "You took over his body." He didn't say anything else, and only looked at Li Yunxin. Seeing that Li Yunxin waited for a while, he impatiently sighed. "I still have a lot of things to deal with." "It's fine if you don't want to talk about it, I'll leave first." At this moment, Kuan Wuxi finally confirmed that the same strange and terrifying situation had also appeared on Li Yunxin. Because of some terrifying power or law, he also lost his sensitivity towards any topic related to body taking. He also ignored it. The profound state Taoist felt a chill on his back, because of those things that he didn't understand, or rather, the power that he didn't understand. There was only one thing he was afraid of. Would he be in the same situation in the near future? This kind of indescribable fear made him reach out and try to grab Li Yunxin. "Stop." But just as he finished speaking, he heard a low and powerful voice coming from the north, from the pile of broken bricks and tiles from the collapsed Sanhika Dragon King Temple. "Someone wants to slander me? This is not a wise move." The slightly panicked expression on Kuan Wuxi's face immediately faded. He took a deep breath and took a step back. That person walked out. He was tall and straight, wearing a yellow robe. It was silken well-cut, accentuating his strong back and thin waist. There was a sword hanging on his waist. This was relatively rare among cultivators. Daotong occasionally used a sword to defend himself, while Kinzo specialized in sword techniques. But the former usually kept his thin sword in his sleeve, while the latter usually carried it on his back. Only those who used a sword to show their status in the secular world would do this. But this person was obviously not a secular person. Because his eyes were blue eyes were on a white face, but they did not seem feminine. because his face seemed to have been carved by a knife and axe, with sharp edges. This was a square face with thick eyebrows and big eyes. His black hair was tied with a golden silk crown. This was also not the style of a secular person, because in the secular world, people would only wear this thing after death. But perhaps the owner of the golden silk crown felt that this kind of dressing was more suitable for his yellow robe. He walked until he was 10 steps away from Kun Wuxia and stopped, looking at Li Yunxin first. And Li Yunxin also frowned slightly and looked at him. The two looked at each other for a while, and the yellow-robed man laughed heartily. What a good ninth brother. Second brother will remember your friendship just now. Li Yunxin was slightly stunned, and then blinked his eyes. You. The yellow-robed man who called himself second brother then turned to Kun Wuxia and stopped laughing. You want to kill me? You have great ability. Now that I have returned to the profound realm, I really want to ask you, how should this matter be resolved? Chapter 198. Li Yunxin didn't know what had happened before. Kun Wuxia had chased hatred to this place, but he could already deduce what to return to the mysterious realm meant. Hatred was injured in Tongtian Swamp. He was afraid that Daotong would beat him when he was down, so he escaped separately with Emperor Li. He must have met Kun Wuxia again on the way, so he was chased by the head of Langia Cave all the way here. Previously, he should have been at the peak of the true realm. Then he absorbed part of the resentment of the millions of ghost soldiers and returned to the mysterious realm. What he deduced was indeed the truth. This Kun Wuxia was also a Jinren who had achieved enlightenment in 100 years and had seen bloody battles. When he first saw hatred, he was surprised, but he quickly recovered his calmness. He laughed and saluted. Lord Tongtian, what are you talking about? At first, I was just itching to play with the Heavenly Lord. Now that Lord Tongtian has returned to the mysterious realm, and we are brothers, I won't disturb you anymore. Now, how dare you? Hatred sneered. Li Yunxin knew that Hatred's reputation wasn't good. People said he was cruel and tyrannical, but now that he saw him, he felt that at least he didn't seem to be the hatred in people's hearts. His appearance was very good. It made Li Yunxin want to make a joke like you with your thick eyebrows and big eyes can be cruel and tyrannical. And even if he was sneering now, he still looked righteous. At least, he looked completely different from the evil charm of the ninth young master. Hatred sneered at this righteous Lord Tongtian and said, It won't be so easy for you to leave today. Although Ben Jun is a magnanimous person, I won't forgive just anyone. You ambushed me in Yi Kingdom, and chased me all the way to Qing Kingdom. If I let you go, how can I frighten all the demons in the world? It's just that before you die, you still have a quarter of an hour to talk properly. What do you want to push the blame onto this monarch? Kun Wuxia smiled calmly and waved his sleeves. His body was immediately plated with a layer of misty golden light, and a faintly discernible image of the 8 trigrams appeared behind his head. In the 8 trigrams, the black and white fishes moved ceaselessly. For a moment, all the qi activity and spiritual energy within 10 steps around him were dispersed, turning into nothingness. Li Yunxin had never seen a profound realm Taoist priest serious attack, so he didn't know how powerful this move was. However, he still wisely flew back 20 feet, determined not to participate in today's battle if possible. After Kun Wuxia finished his technique, he said, As for the matter. He thought for a moment, then looked at Li Yunxin and said in a deep voice, This ninth brother of yours may not be your biological ninth brother. His real name was Li Yunxin, and he was a human. He plotted to kill your ninth brother and took his body. I would like to remind the Lord Tongtian that you might also be taken over by him. The body of a profound realm great demon is a good thing. After saying this, he looked at the reactions of Li Yunxin and the Lord Tongtian. There was no reaction at all. The two of them were still staring at him, as if waiting for him to speak. Kun Wuxia felt the coldness on his back become even heavier. It was as if a huge invisible shadow was pressing down on him from behind, making him, a profound realm Taoist, feel uneasy. What kind of power could actually do this? Thinking about this, he didn't want to talk to the Lord Tongtian anymore. His figure flashed, and he wanted to escape into the sky. But he heard the Lord Tongtian shout angrily. You want to leave without saying a word? Do you really think you can leave? When he said this, Kun Wuzi had already appeared 100 meters high in the sky. However, Long Sun's speed was obviously faster than him. The bright yellow figure on the ground flashed, and blocked the direction where Kun Wuzi was going, slapping down with its palm. This Daotong cultivator didn't want to fight with him, and he didn't want to fight with him. A profound realm Taoist against a profound realm Taoist. Unless he was currently at the peak of the profound realm Taoist. Once the fight started, it wouldn't be described as endless. The body of a true realm Taoist was already strong, and their souls were hard to destroy, let alone a profound realm Taoist. Kun Wuzi's figure immediately disappeared, and in the blink of an eye, he appeared in another place 100 meters away. However, the speed of the dragon's son, hatred, was still faster than him. Once again, it turned into a stream of light and blocked his way, slapping down with its palm. In less than a breath's time, in the time that Li Yunxin blinked his eyes, the sky was already covered by a layer of misty water vapor, as if it was a cover made of white silk. Due to Long Sun's high-speed movement, and the cone-shaped mist that was produced when he broke through the sound barrier, it connected and formed a cloud cover. In such a short period of time, Kun Wuzi had already been blocked by hatred dozens of times. Even the most patient person wouldn't be able to endure this. After Kun Wuzi finally fought fiercely with Long Sun, he flew back to the ground and said angrily, Can you stop? Even if I fight with you for 3 days and 3 nights, so what? Do you think you are still at the peak of the profound realm? Hatred stood majestically in the air and sneered again. I can't stop you by myself, but I still have helpers. The 2 of us can stop you. Kun Wuzi looked at Li Yunxin and said, Him? Humph. He's just a true realm Taoist. Isn't he afraid of being smashed into pieces? Hatred laughed heartily. He turned around and landed next to Li Yunxin. Then, he touched his sleeve, and took out a dagger that looked like a fong. Then, he used the dagger to draw a circle beside Li Yunxin's feet. Ninth brother, don't be afraid. Li Yunxin, the second brother with thick eyebrows and big eyes, said to him in a deep voice, Just stand in this circle, and it will protect you from being hurt by us. Just watch how I kill this stinky Taoist who is making things difficult for us. Then we can have a good talk about our brotherhood. However, Li Yunxin felt a little uneasy. He felt that his uneasiness came from his wrong estimation of hatred. Hatred seemed to be completely different from what he had imagined. But, if he was a human, he might believe that he was really like this. But he was a demon. Among the demons, would there be such a character? From the beginning to the end, he had been trying to observe hatred's subtle expressions. Although the information and details he obtained were not enough. If he had to come to a conclusion at this moment, it would be hard for him to believe. Long Z, hatred, was indeed such a person. Forthright, passionate, and not bothered by trifles. What kind of demon was he? Li Yunxin took a deep breath and smiled. Okay. When he spoke, his voice was frivolous, and his tone rose. After you kill this stinky Taoist, I will tell you something more interesting. The 2 of them talked, leaving Kun Wuzi aside. The Taoist in the mysterious realm snorted. Protect him? You animal. You don't know how deep and terrible this kid's schemes are. If I were you, I would kill him right now. Otherwise you will regret it one day. Hatred still ignored him. He walked a dozen steps to the left, stepped on the messy ground, and walked to the Dongting Lake. Then he turned around and looked at Kun Wuzi. Stinky Taoist. You should have seen the helper I am looking for just now. I am now in the mysterious realm of Shi, so I can't kill you. But if I have a helper in the mysterious realm, things will be different. The old guy in the lake was already in the mysterious realm of Shi 1,000 years ago. Now, I don't know what level he has reached, but it is said that he likes to eat humans' essence and yang qi. After 1,000 years of accumulation, he is probably not much inferior to you. Ben Jun's other helper is him. Don't you know that Lord Dongting has been imprisoned in the Dongting Lake for 2,000 years, and he can't go more than 10 feet away from the lake? Kun Wuzi looked at him with a gloomy face. How can you ask him to help you? Let's not talk about whether you can ask him to come out or not. Even if he comes out, I think that old guy doesn't want to get involved in this matter. Being an enemy of I means being an enemy of Dao Tong. Do you know what it means to kill I at this time? Hatred stopped laughing. He stared at Kun Wuzi for a while and shook his head. The expression on his face seemed to be sarcasm and sympathy. It is said that human cultivators are always smarter than demons, but I don't think so. You know that Lord Dongting is imprisoned in this lake, and he also knows that he is imprisoned. The whole world knows this. But it has been so long, 2,000 years. Why doesn't anyone think about why he is imprisoned? Your lifespan is short, only a few hundred years. The two old fellows on your mountain have lived for thousands of years. They should know the truth, but they didn't tell you. Since they don't want to talk about it, you shouldn't think about it or ask about it. Humans aren't bad. It's just this kind of muddle-headed little thing. Dizzy. I'm used to it. Hatred paused and pointed at Dongting Lake. Today, I will tell you why this old thing is trapped here. The moment he said this, Li Yunxin and Kun Wuzi were stunned. Did Hatred know this secret? However, the profound realm Taoist priest knew that Long Erzi's words were indeed true. The fact that a profound realm great demon had been imprisoned sounded unimaginable. But it was also because this matter had been, for far too long. Soon, the short-lived humans were no longer surprised by it. When human practitioners learned Taoism, they would always learn some common knowledge about some great demons in the world. There would also be seniors who told them what realm a certain demon was in, and what kind of demon was like. For the practitioners who had just entered Taoism, every demon was not ordinary. After all, demons were not human, so it was normal for them to be eccentric. It was a strange thing that the Lord Dongting was imprisoned. But was it strange that no one had found the nest of the golden-winged rock? And so on, it became common knowledge. Imprisoned. This was the label of the Lord Dongting, and it had almost become a part of him. Some people were curious and asked why the Lord Dongting was imprisoned. However, the two saints knew about this ancient secret, but didn't say anything. How could they find out the truth? So no one was curious anymore. Until this moment. Kun Wuzi was stunned and said in a deep voice, "You are talking nonsense." Humph. Hatred snorted with a smile, and turned to the 1,000-mile Dongting that had been turned upside down not long ago. His voice was like muffled thunder. "Lord Dongting, today is your time. If you want to leave this place, come out and see me quickly." Previously, Li Yunxin and Kun Wuzi called him, but they hadn't seen him for a long time. But today, when this Hatred called him, a tall water column suddenly shot out from the lake. Lord Dongting, who was in red, appeared on the water column in the blink of an eye. He looked down and saw Hatred. Then, he plunged over and rushed to the front of Hatred with clouds and mist. He said, "Are you serious?" Li Yunxin and Kun Wuzi were really stunned at this moment. Hatred seemed to be telling the truth. He seemed to have an agreement with the Lord Dongting. Hatred smiled and turned to look at Kun Wuzi. "Of course it's true. It's also a coincidence that you have suffered enough today. It's also a coincidence that when I wanted to release you from this sea of bitterness, I was stopped by this stinky Taoist. Otherwise, you would have been released earlier. But since it's such a coincidence, help me kill this stinky Taoist." Kun Wuzi already knew that what Hatred said just now was not a lie. At this moment, he didn't have the time to think about why Hatred could release this Lord Dongting. Instead, he clearly knew that once Lord Dongting was released, he would really help that demon, and he would be in real danger. So he said in a deep voice, "Emperor Li has committed a great sin in Li Kingdom. I, Dao Tong, haven't questioned the demon about that matter. And the reason why I chased you all the way is also because of that matter. There is one more Xian realm demon in the world, but Dao Tong lost 5 Shinren. Therefore, Dao Tong needs an explanation, and also needs balance." He looked at Hatred, then looked at Li Yunxin. "Today there is one more true realm demon in the world. It's in the city of Wei. Dao Tong and Kinzo still don't know about this. But once they know, there will inevitably be another wave. Fortunately, I have talked to your 9th brother and promised him something. I will go back to Dao Tong and think of some ways. Maybe there is still room for us to change this matter. But if I die here today, we will lose one more true realm, and one more Xian realm. Kun Wuzi looked at hatred seriously. Daotong Kenzo, and the demon will no longer be able to live in peace. It will be a catastrophe like the one that wiped out the painting devil 1,000 years ago. Or even worse. You have to think about it carefully. If you kill I today, it will be a declaration of war against Daotong and Kenzo. It will be an all-out war until one side is completely destroyed. You demons, do you think you can withstand a full blow from us? After saying these words, he looked at the three people in front of him coldly. There was a moment of silence. Hatred turned to look at Lord Dongting, then at Li Yunxin, and laughed. This stinky Taoist is afraid. But I'm not afraid. Dragon Sun sneered. War? That's what I want. Lord Dongting, will you help me? But he didn't get a firm and quick response as he had imagined. Lord Dongting reached out his hand to stroke his beard. It seemed that what Kun Wuzi said just now calmed him down a little. These things, this 3,000-year-old Xian realm monster said slowly. If I kill him and Daotong comes to attack, my cave, well, is still in Dongting after all. At that time, if Lord Tongtian escapes, it will be difficult for me. Kun Wuzi smiled. Yes. Lord Dongting's idea is a mature one, not just based on his own will. Even if he escapes, what's the point if he loses his life? Chapter 199. Your cave. Hatred seems to hear something funny. You have been imprisoned here for 2,000 years. Do you still want to stay in your cave? He reached into his sleeves and tossed something into the air. Look what this is. Lord Dongting can't get out of Dongting, but others can come in. What hatred throws out is a small plate. It's golden in color. It doesn't look regular. The plate falls into his hand. Li Yunxin, Lord Dongting and Kun Wuzi all focus on the plate. But it's more like a fragment than a plate. It was like a small fragment that had fallen from a very thick and very large piece of glass. It had not been specially sculpted. It's half the size of a palm, thick on one side and thin on the other, and the edge is circular. Golden. Brilliant golden. This plate doesn't emit light, but it seems to absorb light. It absorbs all the brilliant gold in the world, making it so bright that it can't be ignored. It's not dazzling. Li Yunxin doesn't know the origin of this thing, but Kun Wuzi and Lord Dongting look at hatred at the same time. Lord Dongting's calmness disappears. He stares with his round eyes and says with a trembling voice, "This is it?" "Yes." Hatred nods solemnly. Dragon God token. With this token, you can go anywhere in the world without hindrance. You can go wherever you want, no one dares to stop you. Hatred looks at Lord Dongting deeply. I know you have a place you want to go. Then cave? What's the use of it for you? Go anywhere without hindrance? It's just a joke. Kun Wuzi snorts immediately. Not everyone will buy this thing. Do you think you are going to see Shinryu? If Shinryu didn't appear in the world, how many demons in the world would really respect you for this broken scale? Even though you're a profound realm spirit demon, it's exactly because you're a profound realm spirit demon that no one dares to let you pass through them. However, Lord Dongting didn't seem to care about Kun Wuzi's words. He stretched out his hand and rubbed the dragon scale for a while, ignoring Kun Wuzi's words. Kun Wuzi didn't say anything because he saw the person beside the Lord Dongting. Dense water vapor was produced, almost covering his entire body. Li Yunxin blinked. He had seen this before, when he told the Lord Dongting about Qi Wen's death. After a quarter of an hour, the mist dissipated. Lord Dongting stood up straight. He had already put away the Dragon God token. He looked at hatred, and his voice became calm and steady. How to break the seal? What do you need me to do? After hearing this, Kun Wuzi didn't say another word and flew away. This time, it was different from before. The yin-yang fish 8 trigrams that kept rotating behind him suddenly broke into pieces and turned into a gray streamer. This streamer wrapped his body, and he disappeared into the horizon in the blink of an eye like a gray sharp arrow, at a speed far faster than before. And hatred only had time to raise his hand and sprinkle a golden light. But the golden light was immediately penetrated by Kun Wuxia, and it was only stained with some starlight. This dragon son sneered. Stinky Taoist, you really cherished your life. Is that his magic weapon? NATO magic weapon, Lord Dongting said in a deep voice. If he broke this magic weapon and ran away by absorbing the Reiki, you indeed couldn't catch up with him. But it would also damage his cultivation. He wouldn't fall, but he would be easier to deal with than before. He has already escaped. Humph, what a pity. It's such a good opportunity. But Lord Dongting smiled. Escaped? Where can he escape to? My lifespan is 3,000 years. If he wants to, he can't escape from this Dongting. What do you think this is? Lord Dongting turned over his palm, and a small mirror appeared in his palm. It was neither gold nor wood, and it didn't have a regular shape. The surface of this small mirror was blurry, and seemed to be covered with a layer of water vapor. It didn't look clear and smooth, and there were some black spots on the surface. And the shape of this mirror? Li Yunxin looked at it for a while, and realized what it looked like. Like this Dongting lake. The next moment, he realized that he guessed right. Lord Dongting shook his hand, and the mirror flew into the air. It grew with the wind, and it expanded 5 or 6 times. At this time, it could be seen clearly that this was indeed a miniature Dongting lake. The islands and hills in the lake were the black spots before. The layer of water vapor on the surface of the mirror was indeed the water vapor of Dongting Lake. And by the side of this small lake, there was an extremely tiny black dot flying about. The reason why he could see it was because there was a long gray shadow behind the black spot. It was Kun Wuxia. You have such a treasure. Hatred looked at the mirror with great interest and pointed at it. You couldn't get out of Dongting for 2,000 years. Where did you get this thing? It's an old thing. Lord Dongting didn't answer, but just muttered to himself with emotion. Li Yunxin found that his eyes were full of complex emotions when he looked at this small mirror. He had seen a lot of demons since he came to this world. But Lord Dongting was the first one who had such complex emotions in his eyes. Even he couldn't describe it in detail. The name of this treasure is Smoke Wave Dongting Painting. Lord Dongting's tone became the same as when Li Yunxin first met him, calm and unhurried. It seemed that once this Smoke Wave Dongting painting appeared, the whole world was under his control. Or maybe this treasure reminded him of something. Li Yunxin knew that people who were immersed in the past always had more calmness and sadness. With this painting, no matter how far he escaped, Lord Dongting said. He reached out a finger and inserted it into the mirror. It was really like inserting into the water. His whole finger went into the mirror. He will be pulled back. As soon as he finished speaking, he stirred the water with his finger. A water column as thick as a chopstick suddenly sprang up from the small lake. It caught up with the little black spot in the air in the blink of an eye. At the same time, a deafening sound rang again. From the Dongting Lake behind him, a huge water column that connects the sky and the earth rises up like a wall. However, the water column didn't rush out of Dongting obliquely. Instead, it went straight into the sky. However, somewhere in the sky, it disappeared inexplicably. It seemed that there was a cross-section there. The little black spot in the Smoke Wave Dongting painting was wrapped by the water column and pulled back slowly. As for Kun Wuxia in the real world, although Li Yunxin couldn't see it, he knew that it was probably the same situation. Seeing this scene, Hatred let out a low voice of admiration. He pointed at the vivid painting. This is Ling Tu. Lord Dongting sighed. This is my treasure. Hatred didn't know what kind of concept Ling Tu was, so he just marveled at its magical changes. As for Kun Wuxia, he should have heard of this thing, but it was hard to say whether he had seen it or not. Li Yunxin was the only one who truly understood what this represented. When Taoist Danqing of the painting school painted, he could make a treasure scroll in the transcendent realm. When he reached the peak of the transcendent realm, he could make a treasure scroll. That day in Xianghua Building, he made a perverted eating painting as a joke, which was a treasure scroll. And Ling Kongzi's body was full of precious magic weapons. After seeing his treasure scroll, Ling Kongzi also treasured it seriously. After entering the real state, Taoist Danqing could make Ling Tu. And the reason why Ling Tu was called spirit was that it could interact with the real world through the painting. Was the 1,000 miles of river and mountains and rivers painting on his folding fan a ling too? Yes. Yunzi's soul was sealed in the painting, and he could also see Long Ertzi and hatred coming here in the painting. Some things that happened in the real world could be reflected in the painting. But Lord Dongting's link to Smoke Wave Dongting painting could do more things. It could already affect the real world. Just like just now, it entangled and pulled Yu Yunzi's soul clone, who had destroyed his natal Dharma treasure, back to the real world. This should be the work of Taoist Danqing of the mysterious realm. A mysterious realm. At least a mysterious realm Taoist Danqing made this ling to, and it was taken by Lord Dongting. Li Yunqin realized that there should be some stories that he would be interested in. It said that Lord Dongting entangled Kun Wuzi with this ling to spell, and then he turned to look at hatred. So now, how can I get out? At this time, it is completely dark. The sun finally sets on the other side of the mountain, but the moon is still hidden in the west. Kun Wuzi turned Dongting upside down and poured a huge amount of lake water from the sky. The water vapor didn't disperse, making the moonlight hazy. In such a hazy light, Li Yunqin saw hatred and laughed. It's called a confinement, but it actually wants you to guard a big treasure. You have been guarding this Dongting for 2,000 years. Well, today is the time. Do you know who asked me to free you? Hatred smiled and showed his teeth, shining in the moonlight. For some reason, Li Yunqin suddenly felt nervous when he saw him like this. He remembered the 9th young master. He was now a big demon in the real realm, and the 9th young master was just at the peak of the transcendent realm. But he was the only one who had ever given her such pressing pressure. That was the pressure of life and death. At this moment, Li Yunqin saw his teeth and smile, and he thought of the 9th son of the dragon again. He inexplicably felt that the atmosphere was a bit weird, so he slightly clenched the folding fan in his hand. Lord Dongting didn't say anything, so hatred smiled and continued. It is Shinryu. Shinryu, you have come to the world. Right now, the true dragon wants to see you, not to mention that once you're free, you don't have to give this cave to me. This young master, this monarch can then cultivate in peace and recover his cultivation level. Before you leave, you have to give that big treasure to me, and I will continue to guard it. As for you, you can leave. Li Yunqin frowned. He didn't know if it was his illusion, or he was nervous because he was between two big demons in the mysterious realm. He felt that the word this young master, that Yizi accidentally said sounded very familiar. Chapter 200. Lord Dongting carefully looked at hatred in the hazy moonlight, pondered for a while, and then said, "Ah, this is a big deal." So it was also that Shinryu who taught Lord Tongtian how to break this restriction? Yes. Hatred smiled, and then looked at Li Yunqin. Because of this, my 9th brother needs to help. He walked to Li Yunqin's side and looked at him. Hatred was smiling. Li Yunqin saw his smile clearly. During the day, Hatred's smile was sincere and bright. It wasn't just the feeling. Even an expert like Li Yunqin couldn't see through it. After all, he was an expert who could see the subtle expressions of Kun Wuzi. But now looking at his smile, it had become very strange. It was a fake smile. A smile full of malice, a smile of impatience, a smile of cruelty and tyranny. At this moment, this smile was hanging on Hatred's face. He stared at Li Yunqin and didn't look at Lord Dongting. He said slowly, "This restriction can only be broken with the strength of 2 Dragon Sun. My 9th brother was in theft in the Wei River. No one would have thought that he was actually used as a key." Li Yunqin also looked at him. Then he reached out his hand and touched it. Earlier, hatred used a dagger to draw a circle around him, to prevent him from being affected by the fight between profound realm cultivators. Now the circle worked. A golden light appeared with a buzzing sound, as if it was a cylinder made of halos, and it stopped his hand from moving forward. Li Yunqin sighed. Then, second brother, what should I do with this key? Why don't I know? Lord Dongting looked at the 2 brothers talking, and then looked up at the sky. There was a speck of light in the northwest. Within the smoky ripple cave painting, Kuan Wuxi's body was still fighting against the water pillar, and his momentum was slow. There was still time. He stroked the 2 strands of beard by his lips and said, "Doesn't the Lord Tongtian know about this?" This Li Yunxin was not Qi. It was a Yin god who found a way to disguise himself as your 9th brother. As for your 9th brother, he is already dead. Hearing his words, Hatred immediately sneered, still staring at Li Yunxin. "Oh? 9th brother, is this true?" It was a sad story. Although we, the 9 dragons' son, are all dragons, we have never met before. 2,000 years ago, 2nd brother was in theft to the Tongtian Sea. 1,000 years ago, 9th brother was in theft to the Wei River. 2nd brother really can't tell if you're real or not. Or, Hatred came closer. If it wasn't for the light barrier, his forehead would almost touch Li Yunxin's. He stared at Li Yunxin's eyes, and a pair of blue eyes seemed to be twinkling like stars. Or, what you said before was fake. The 2 of them stared at each other for a while. Li Yunxin suddenly took a step back and smiled. "2nd brother, you must be joking. 9th brother's feelings for you are deep." Yizi burst into laughter. After laughing for a while, he suddenly stopped. "Then 9th brother, your friendship in the end, will it kill 2nd brother? For example, 2nd brother wants to live, but that Kuan Wuxi is chasing after him." Li Yunxin said in a low voice. While chasing, he said, "Please stop. I just want to play with you. Stand still and let I poke 49 holes in your body. I promise I won't kill you. 2nd brother, will you kill him later, or stand still and let him poke you? You know, maybe that Kuan Wuxi is really just playing with me." Hatred was silent for a while and stepped back 2 steps. "Okay." He looked at Li Yunxin. "What a deep friendship. Then Lord Dongting, I will save you now. The method is very simple. The finishing stroke of your inhibition in Dongting is drawn with Dragon Qi. Now it will be destroyed with Dragon Qi. Such a little Dragon Qi. Not too much, not too little. If there is a dragon at the peak of transcendent state here, he can refine his body. After breaking the eye of the circle, another dragon's son can guide 2 streams of Dragon Qi out, and the inhibition will be broken. If there is a dragon in the real state, it will be even better." He looked at Lord Dongting with a sneer. "If my 9th brother is real, it will be a plan to kill 2 birds with 1 stone for Lord Dongting. You and my 9th brother have been together in Weishui River and Dongting for 1,000 years. Although he isn't that dirty usually, I guess my 9th brother doesn't have any good thoughts in his heart. Who would like to have an old demon in the mysterious realm by his side? Lord Dongting doesn't like him. That's good. After killing him, Lord Dongting can go to Shinryu with the Dragon God token. I will be happy to stay here." Li Yunxin looked at Hatred calmly. Or, at least during the day, he should be Hatred. Yama King seemed to be unclear about some things. Or he might be hiding it on purpose. The 9th young master is not completely dead. Li Yunxin was willing to believe his intuition, even if he didn't find any solid evidence to support it. Hatred at night, hatred after sunset. He was the former dragon's son, Qi, the 9th young master. After Hatred said these words, Li Yunxin showed his Dharmakaya without saying a word. A burst of green light flashed. Clouds and mist rose around him. Water vapor soaked his greenish-gray scales. A pair of red antlers stood on his forehead, and the branches were dotted with golden light. He showed up but still didn't say a word. He pursed his lips and stared at Lord Dongting with a pair of golden eyes. Gambling on something he was not good at, and couldn't even understand. Seeing his Dharmakaya that belonged to Qi, Lord Dongting slowly widened his eyes, slightly opened his mouth, and even wanted to raise his hand. But it was just a movement, and he quickly put it down. Lord Dongting glanced at Hatred. Li Yunxin saw some light in his eyes. He said, "I have a lot of things to tell you. Many things that you can't imagine or understand." When he said this, his face was covered by a thin layer of water vapor. It was not clear whether he was looking at Lord Dongting or Hatred, but no matter what they look like. No matter what they look like, their names, there's one thing that won't change. Humans have emotions and so do demons. This thing won't change, even if they never talk about it. After saying this, he fell silent. Hatred also fell silent for a while. He stared at Li Yunxin, as if trying to figure out the meaning of these words, or whether they were true or false. He believed these words, as if they were said to him. Lord Dongting, who was beside him, had the same thought, thinking of the words Li Yunxin said when he first met Li Yunxin. That's why. He probably only told me. He's a proud person. Some feelings are hidden in the bottom of his heart. He might be afraid of being laughed at if he said it. However, there was only one time. He drank too much, and said that in this way river, there was only one person that he wanted to be close to, but couldn't. Lord Dongting, a 3,000-year-old profound realm demon. Not to mention wisdom. Just the amount of danger he had experienced was probably more than all three of them combined. When he first met Li Yunxin, the things he did and the things he said to him, even now, it was impossible for him to completely believe that this Qi-Wen in front of him was the Qi-Wen from before. However, he couldn't completely believe it. He had 99% doubts in his heart, but he still had a little hope in hope. Li Yunxin just wanted to bet on that, something that he was not good at and didn't understand. And the reason why he dared to bet on this was that the ninth young master was indeed a demon who couldn't understand people. There was a subtle but common relationship between the ninth young master and Lord Dongting. It was this relationship, and the powerful strength of Lord Dongting, that allowed them to coexist peacefully for thousands of years. But now it had become a fatal loophole. Lord Dongting knew some things that the ninth young master didn't. And today, this difference in information became the only straw in this desperate situation. Hatred, who might be the ninth young master at this moment, kept emphasizing that Li Yunxin was his ninth brother. After a few moments of silence, Hatred spoke first. Who knows? Ninth brother. Humans had stomachs, and so did demons. If you don't dig out your heart, I won't be able to see it clearly. Lord Dongting, have you thought it through? I'm going to save you now. Chapter 201. In the dusk, Lord Dongting stares at Li Yunxin for a while. Then he waves his hand. You two are blood brothers. At the same time, he glanced at the painting of Misty Dongting. The reason why I can live in peace for 3,000 years is because I am careful and cautious. Lord Tongtian is also an unparalleled demon. Now he comes to my Dongting and gives me the dragon token. It's real. It just says, Lord Tongtian wants to tell me that Shinryu appears in the world. He gives me this token and asks me to meet him. Well, Shinryu is the common lord of demons, so I can't disobey him. But Lord Tongtian says that when I leave, he will hand over Dongting to you. Such a big thing. I have to think about it. He sighs slowly. After all, it's hard to leave my homeland. Hatred doesn't seem to understand why Lord Dongting suddenly changes his mind. He squints at Lord Dongting for a while, and then stares at Li Yunxin for a while. He sneers. What? Are you afraid that I set you up? Hey, you think too much. Because I don't know if Lord Tongtian is also a son of Shinryu. Lord Dongting narrows his eyes. His black eyes turn into two thin lines, and says with a smile, for example, I used to think that this Li Yunxin is disguised as Dragon Son. But now it turns out to be true. Now Lord Tongtian does have some dragon chi. But I don't know if it's a disguise. I don't need Lord Tongtian to show his real body or Dharmakaya. After all, I'm imprisoned in this Dongting lake. Maybe I can use this smoke wave map to do some small things. But if a profound realm demon is here in person, I won't be able to see through it. The old demon says, but in this Dongting lake, there is a treasure that can identify the real dragon chi. Lord Tongtian, why don't you put some whacken into the lake so that I can see if it's real? Yazi looked at him in confusion. He didn't know why this old thing was so excited just now. But now he was able to restrain himself. But he glances at the little black spot in the smoke wave painting. They have been talking for a quarter of an hour, and the doppelganger of Kuan Wuzi is about to be pulled back. It would take a lot of effort to kill the soul clone of a practitioner who had reached the peak of the mystical realm, and Yazi didn't have the confidence to do it alone. Above the mystical realm, the difference between each stage was even greater. He is in the mysterious state of Shi. Today, If he doesn't have the confidence to persuade Lord Dongting, a big demon, to fight with him, even if it is just the spiritual incarnation of Kun Wuzi, he has to avoid it. This is a rare opportunity. If he can injure Kun Wuzi's real body, Kun Wuzi won't chase after him. After all, cultivators are more rational and quick-witted than demons, which means they value their lives more. Because of such a good opportunity, hatred sighs. Good. I know you are cautious, Lord Dongting. Tell me what to do. Kun Wuzi's doppelganger is going to be caught. Lord Dongting smiled and said, "It's also very easy to do. I'll go out. Once I step out of this restriction, the magic circle will be activated. At this time, Lord Tongtian will hit the restriction with his wacken. He must use all his strength, so that the wacken will be transmitted to the eye of the circle. My treasure is at the eye of the circle, and we will know whether Lord Tongtian is the son of Shinryu or not." Hatred frowns and thinks for a while, suspecting that this is a trap. But soon he shrugs and says, "Okay, I'll do as you say. Lord Dongting, please." As soon as he says this, Lord Dongting immediately takes a step out. As soon as he steps out, a layer of golden light shield appears in front of him. Countless tiny and complicated runes flowed on the light shield in front of him. Each rune emitted a dazzling light the moment it appeared, and then turned into spots of light. In just a breath's time, his body seemed to be surrounded by a layer of golden fog, tightly wrapping around him, and constantly pulling him back. Lord Dongting's robe is fluttering, and the silk cloak is flying. Even the 2 strands of beard on the side of his lips seem to be making a loud sound in the golden wind around him. He shouts again, and immediately 81 pieces of scale shields with bright red light fly out from his body, forcing the golden fog back a little. At this moment he roars, "Now!" Dragon Son Hatred immediately waves his hands, and a stream of wacken is sent out, hitting the fog in front of Lord Dongting. However, when the wacken from the mysterious realm Big Demon touches the golden fog, it is like a clay ox entering the sea. Not even a ripple can be caused. Lord Dongting frowns and shouts again, "Is that all you have? Ha! Kun Wuzi is coming." Yazi's eyes widened as he looked at the painting of the Misty Ripple Cave. After a glance, he immediately turns his head to look at the sky. Hundreds of meters in the sky, a figure wrapped in water vapor is rushing down. In his heart, he was both anxious and angry. He shouted, "You old thing, why do you have to make trouble like this? Quickly help me kill that Kun Wuzi." After he shouted, he really used all his strength. With a buzzing sound, the earth and rocks within 10 steps were all turned into powder. Then, they were turned into a whole field of green light by the violent overflowing spiritual power. This mysterious realm Big Demon's all-out attack seems to tear time and space apart. Li Yunxin, who is only 3 steps away from him, can see that the light circle around him is about to fall from the impact, and it is about to break soon. Hatred stops his attack and shouts, "Can you do it?" In the golden fog, Lord Dongting laughs 3 times. Yes. You, a mysterious realm Big Demon, help me open such a gap. Why can't I do it?" Hearing his words, Hatred feels a little strange. But before he can figure it out, a small part of the golden fog in front of Lord Dongting suddenly dissipates. This 3,000-year-old Big Demon suddenly reaches out a hand and smashes the inhibition spell that Hatred previously set around Li Yunxin with lightning speed. He grabs one of Li Yunxin's arms. Then he pulls Li Yunxin into the golden fog. Then he waves his big sleeve and takes the Smoke Ripple Cave Garden painting floating in the air into his palm. He shouts, "The doppelganger of the Taoist has been brought here for Lord Tongtian. Lord Tongtian, please deal with him first. I'm leaving now." As he is speaking, he has already grabbed Li Yunxin's wrist and rushed to the center of the lake. By the time he finished speaking, the 2 of them had already submerged into the water. Hatred has no idea what happened. Looking at Kun Wuzi who has just fallen, and then at Dongting Lake, he turns around and wants to chase after him. But he only runs 3 steps. With a buzz, he actually bumps into the light circle that trapped Lord Dongting just now. Hatred growls in exasperation and finds another direction to rush into the lake. But after trying several times, he realizes that this Dongting lake, it had actually been sealed. Chapter 202. The demon has no clue. He can't even think of a reasonable reason. How did things become like this? What went wrong? But there are only 2 seconds left for him to think. The doppelganger of Kuan Wuxia is finally pulled back. No, it should be said that it is seized back. Previously, he thought that the power of Lord Dongting's smoke wave Dongting painting was limited. It takes a lot of effort to pull the doppelganger of Kuan Wuxia back. But when Lord Dongting pulls Li Yunxin into the water, the doppelganger of the Taoist of the mysterious realm is almost pulled from the sky to the ground in an instant. Lord Dongting deliberately held back and stalled for time. But why did he do that? Hatred can't figure it out at all. The doppelganger of the Taoist soul falls to the ground, looking at the Dongting in the distance, and then at Hatred it sneers, good. I want to go, but you don't want I to go. Since that old thing doesn't want to help you, then I will help you. Hatred is silent for a while, and then he says with hatred, you? Humph. Take my palm. As soon as he finishes his words, the big demon of the mysterious realm immediately rushes up to the sky. It is his turn to escape. 2 flowers bloom, one on each side. While the Taoist of the mysterious realm and the demon are chasing, Li Yunxin is pulled into the lake by Lord Dongting. It is the first time for him to go into the water since he came to this world, to immerse himself in the water. Although there is no water-repelling spell or water-repelling bead, he doesn't need to worry about getting his clothes wet. After all, he is also a Yin spirit. Usually, he can hide his body and pass through walls. At this time, it is not a problem for him to hide in the water. He has returned to his human form, but his face is blue, and his mouth is tightly closed. He doesn't say a word. Ordinary people will say that he is guilty and afraid when they see him like this. But Lord Dongting doesn't see it like this. In fact, after entering the water, Lord Dongting let go of him, and just silently goes straight to the bottom of the lake. Without any hesitation, Li Yunxin follows him with a blue face. This was not a wonderful feeling. The lake was deep, and it wasn't clear seawater with a sunny white beach. Moreover, it was nighttime. When he was a few meters into the water, the moonlight had already disappeared, and his body seemed to be wrapped in the deepest darkness. Below him was an even deeper darkness. He did not know what was hidden there, nor did he know how deep it was. The only light came from the Lord Dongting and himself. There are almost no fish in the water, but there is a layer of dead fish floating on the water. Kun Wuxia cast spells to overturn Dongting, but he also killed a lot of people. Just like that, he dove down for an entire breath's worth of time. Only then did Lord Dongting slow down and turn to look at Li Yunxin. It was a Dharmakaya that looked like a tall and fat man with the head of a carp. So you're the one who saw me back then? Lord Dongting opened and closed his wide mouth. His voice was a little distorted in the water, and it was mixed with the rumbling background sound from somewhere in the lake. At that time, my shrimp soldiers disguised as boatmen and took you and 3 people from Egret town to Mount June. At that time, he told me that you looked afraid of water. After that, I threw you and Song Yunzi down the mountain. You also found a boat to cross the lake. Later, my daughter took you to see Ling Kongzi and Muyin in a white jade boat. According to her, you also looked nervous and afraid, which is exactly what you look like now. So you are afraid of water? You are already a shadow god in dragons. Why are you afraid? Lord Dongting's tone was calm, as if he was chatting with a passerby who happened to meet him. But Li Yunxin knew that now he was almost in the palm of Lord Dongting. Dongting had been run by him for 3,000 years, and it was almost the body of this big demon. However, such a situation could be considered as having no choice, or premeditated. Dongting was right next to his bed. He had wanted to explore it for a long time. Today was a good opportunity, maybe. I'm afraid of water indeed. Otherwise, I wouldn't be like this now, Li Yunxin said after a while. As for why I'm afraid, it's because I was drowned when I was alive. It was a terrible experience. I can't forget it, and I don't want to forget it. Dragons who are afraid of water I think I'm the first one. You are Li Yunxin dragons and Qi-wen. Lord Dongting was silent for a while and whispered, so where is the original Qi-wen? Dead. Killed by you. I had to. Tell me. Lord Dongting slowed down a little more. It was completely dark around, but at the bottom of the lake far away, there was a little light. It was a faint white light, as if there was a piece of glowing white moss at the bottom of the lake. But Li Yunxin knew that those seemingly small branches were not really small. It was because they were too far away. The depth of Dongting Lake, at least at this moment, was about 1,000 meters. And in his original world, the middle section of a big river named Yangtze River, the depth of navigation was only a few meters. Even some places were only 2 or 3 meters deep. In the depth of the 1,000-meter lake, Lord Dongting repeats again, tell me. Then I'll think about it. I'll decide whether to take you to Red Flower City, or to take your body to Red Flower City. Li Yunxin exhaled slowly. A series of tiny bubbles came out of her mouth, and she rose up shakily. Then he smiled. I killed your son. You haven't killed me to avenge your son. Haven't you made a decision? After saying this, Lord Dongting suddenly stopped. His eyes emitted a terrible blue light in the lake, like 2 dazzling searchlights. His robe inlaid with red scales also fluttered in the water, which made him look like he was performing a play, but a horrible and bloody play. He would pounce on the person in front of him in the next moment and tear him into pieces. He breathed horribly, which could be heard clearly even in the depth of the lake. You know about it? Qi-wen has a fish body and a dragon head. When I first met you, I said that the 9th young master couldn't forget you before he died, and you cried. Li Yunxin sighed. If you're not his father, are you his brother? How can it be? Li Yunxin floated in the water and looked at Lord Dongting. Yes. It's hard for people and demons in this world to associate a carp transformed into a demon with Dragon Sun's father. But I happen to know something else. In fact, it's not even a deduction. Maybe in another world, some things are far-fetched legends. But here it's a fact. I know the legends of another world, so I know the facts of this world. It sounds hard to understand, but Li Yunxin sighed again. I'm sorry to kill your son. We were indeed friends at the beginning. At least he thought so. When I met him for the first time, Li Yunxin slowly told the story of him and the 9th young master under thousands of feet of water in Dongting. He skipped some things and processed some things. He didn't judge and only stated facts. Lord Dongting's mood was fluctuating because of many things. He also knew that Li Yunxin couldn't leave Dongting without his permission. He was already on the chopping block. That was why he had the patience to figure out everything in detail. So it's hard to say whether he was vigilant enough when listening to Li Yunxin's narration of those facts. It was like a middle-aged man holding a sharp knife in his hand while listening to a child in his own apartment. Was he or was he not vigilant enough? Therefore, he didn't realize that Li Yunxin used some skills when talking. In fact, he had been using these skills before. Hatred thought that Li Yunxin was talking to him by the lake. In fact, every word and look of Li Yunxin was done for Lord Dongting. Just to plant a strong and sad but powerless seed in his heart. This seed would quickly take root and germinate, breaking the heart defense of an old father who lost his son. So the current situation came. Lord Dongting suppressed the complex emotions in his heart and listened to Li Yunxin's many words. He might not be patient, but he must be patient, because both he and Li Yunxin's hints told him that he must figure out the cause of his son's death. Your son is, in fact, thinking of you in silence. What Li Yunxin wants is the current situation. Give him enough time and a calm environment to talk to a 3,000-year-old monster who is not calm. For him, words are even more powerful than Taoism. As long as he has a chance, he repeats some words and intensifies some emotions. The deep water of Dongting is quiet and dark. It's the best hypnotic environment for him. He doesn't know how effective his best skills can be on this 3,000-year-old non-human monster, but he believes that it won't be in vain. Lord Dongting thinks this bottomless water is his domain, but he doesn't know that he also breaks into Li Yunxin's domain because of this environment. From the moment he suspected that Qi-wen was the son of Lord Dongting, Li Yunqin had been looking forward to such a favorable time and place like today. Now it finally comes to this step. In this 1 hour's time, he used all the techniques he could use. In the end he sighed. This is the current situation. He doesn't speak. There is still a low background sound in the lake. It's the sound of the surging undercurrent in the lake. Lord Dongting is silent for a long time, and then he says, "If I ask you how you became Qi, you won't answer me." Li Yunqin smiles helplessly. "I took over her body." Of course, Lord Dongting doesn't hear this sentence. He is silent for a while, and then he says, "Follow me." Then he dives to the bottom of the lake. Li Yunqin breathes a sigh of relief. A bubble appears around him, and then he follows Lord Dongting. This time it's faster. After another quarter of an hour, the thing he saw at the bottom of the lake like white moss quickly becomes bigger. And it becomes too big. When he first met Hongyang, she said she lived in White Woods, Safflower City. At that time, he thought that White Woods referred to some kind of white algae or water plants deep at the bottom of the lake. Now he sees it with his own eyes, and he knows it's a real woods. Just like the towering trees on land, every tree in this White Woods is white. Most of them have symmetrical branches on the left and right sides, and there may be light-colored algae growing on the branches. The tallest one is 100 meters, and the shortest one is dozens of meters. When they get closer to this White Woods, Li Yunqin can feel how big it is. He can't see the end of it, just like a dense and wide forest on land. He estimates that in this White Woods, there are at least thousands of such trees. But in fact they are not trees. They are skeletons, most of them are spines. Most of them are fish, and only a few are terrestrial animals. Li Yunqin has seen Lord Dongting's unimaginably huge real body, but he is still shocked after seeing these spines. So many spines are inserted straight into the bottom of the lake. This is the White Woods. They are all defeated by me. Lord Dongting stops on a thick branch. This bone tree is more than 100 meters tall. It's not the shortest, but it's not the tallest either. The two of them are in human form. At this moment, they are standing on this spine, as if they are standing on a wide bridge. It's hard to imagine what kind of existence the owner of this skeleton was when he was alive. In this White Woods, there are 4,667 trees, all of which are demons that have attained the Tao. Lord Dongting points at the tallest spine. This is a soaring dragon. When it was alive, its cultivation level was at the profound realm. It took me more than a month to kill it. Then he points at a shorter skeleton. This is a coiled dragon. He is cunning, but he is very beautiful. My daughter was almost charmed by him. Ben Jun also killed him, but this skeleton still looks beautiful now. Li Yunqin silently listens. Lord Dongting points at those skeletons and says with great familiarity. After talking about dozens of them, he turns around and looks at him, saying, "Even the weakest of these demons has the same cultivation level as you. In this world, there are only a few hundred demons that are above the true realm." Li Yunqin takes a deep breath, but only inhales the lake water. How can there be so many high-level demons? However, this is not what he really focuses on. But you said, flood dragons. He looks at Lord Dongting. The dozens you just mentioned are all flood dragons. I saw that the dozens you pointed out, and the thousands you pointed out all look the same. You mean these thousands are all flood dragon bones? Lord Dongting smiles peacefully. Yes. Li Yunqin suddenly finds that he can't see through him. Not long ago, he thought that his words have worked on the other side, and he was waiting to reap the fruits of his victory. But at this moment, he feels that things are getting out of his control. For the first time he feels uncertain. He exhales softly. How can there be so many of them? How can you kill so many of them? And, did you give them the name Flood Dragon? Lord Dongting doesn't answer immediately, but looks at Li Yunqin with a strange and complicated expression, as if he wants to see through him. Then he says, "You have never heard of this word in the secular world, have you? And you have never heard of such a thing as Flood Dragon in this world, have you?" "That's right." Lord Dongting laughs. "Because there is no such word as Flood Dragon in the secular world. Even if you write it down and ask the most knowledgeable scholar, they won't recognize it. But you are interested in it, Li Yunqin. Where have you heard of this word? The atmosphere seems to have become subtle. Li Yunxin looks at Lord Dongting and realizes that he has underestimated him again. At first, he thinks that Lord Dongting is a demon that looks like a human, but is a little slow. Later, he realizes that Lord Dongting is not as slow as he looks. On the contrary, he is also a sophisticated person. He used to think that a demon with both strength and strategy is already amazing. This time, Lord Dongting really regards him as an opponent and tries his best to control everything. However, now he realizes that he seems to have underestimated Lord Dongting for the third time. He will not admit that Lord Dongting is smarter than him, but at least he knows that Lord Dongting is not inferior to him. He looks at the 3,000-year-old demon in front of him. How did Lord Dongting suddenly come up with this word? Come up with this word? Lord Dongting laughs. I didn't come up with this word. It was another person who told me that something that looks like a dragon, but has no horns is a flood dragon. If you see them, just kill them all. What do you think I have been doing in Dongting for 2,000 years? As for where these flood dragons come from, and who told me that word? Li Yunxin, this is also the reason why I won't kill you. Lord Dongting stops laughing. His face became solemn, like a god in deep water. He opens his mouth and sighs first, saying, You just played some tricks on me. Although I don't understand you and I can't see through you, I know you are bewitching people. In fact, it can't be called bewitching. It should be a more brilliant way. You killed this monarch's son, and you want to rely on this method to make this monarch let you go? How dare you? If it wasn't for you guessing Ben Jun's intentions wrongly and getting the wrong direction from the beginning, perhaps things would have really succeeded by now. You are now Qi-wen, and my son used to be Qi-wen. Maybe I love my son so much that I have some expectation in my heart when I see Qi-wen. Knowing that my dead son can't be found, maybe I won't kill you and get some compensation. Oh, if ordinary people know what you are thinking, they will scold you for being whimsical. It's impossible. I also thought so by the lake, but after hearing what you just said, I almost fell into your trap. Now I'm just curious, what kind of trick is this? Thinking about it, it's not like a holy spell or a Taoist spell. At this time, Li Yunxin can finally be sure that everything he has done has been completely seen through. Would he be able to survive? Maybe he can only rely on his luck. But he doesn't feel panic or fear. On the contrary, he felt himself getting excited. A kind of excitement which he knows is sick, but he can't control quickly occupies his body, making him want to have a good fight with this big monster in front of him, which is beyond his expectation. He wants to see, in this Dongting, how many secrets are hidden. He should have suppressed this kind of emotion like countless times before. Bai Yanjun said he was crazy, and some people said he was crazy, but he didn't know the crazy in their eyes. It's his reason after suppressing it. It's the study of the mind. Li Yunxin finally laughed. This laughter sounds a little crazy, because he realizes that he may have touched something he has been trying to grasp, but couldn't grasp before. Now it appears in front of him. This makes him more excited. Chapter 203. Mind study, he repeated again, and looked at Lord Dongting with a smile. You are absolutely right. I have guessed that your son is Qi-wen. Now that I have also become Qi-wen, I thought you would miss your son. I thought you would cry for him. You miss him and cry for him. Then how much you hate me, the enemy who killed your son, will be how much you miss your son who was killed. These two feelings are not completely opposite. There is a subtle boundary between them. So when I told you those things just now, I was trying to study it carefully. I kept hinting and guiding you. Step by step, I weakened the hatred in your heart and magnified the pity in your heart. In the end, you will be completely hypnotized by me. Your memory of your son will completely overwhelm your hatred for me. So you will treat me as a substitute for the 9th young master. In the end, not only will you spare my life, but you will also compensate me double. This is indeed something that seems to go against common sense and is unimaginable. But it's not impossible. There are more victims who fall in love with kidnappers. This is the same logic. This is the mind study, Li Yunxin laughed out loud. What a pity, my goal was wrong from the beginning. You're not crying for your son at all. Am I right? Oh, it does sound interesting. Lord Dongting lowered his eyes and stroked his beard. Yes, I am not crying for him. So you don't really care about how I became Chiwen? Indeed I don't care, Lord Dongting said calmly. I also don't care about your mind study. You think I will be curious? Alas, you are just a child after all. You don't know many things, for example people. When a child sees his mother making a new dress with a thread and a piece of cloth, he will be curious and want to know how it was made. But when this child grows up and becomes a human, he will see more things. One day, he will see a man performing a magic trick and spitting out a sword from his mouth. This thing is much more magical than his mother making clothes. But he will not be curious anymore. Because he has seen a lot. He knows that there are many strange things in this world that cannot be explored by human beings. After seeing so many strange things, they aren't strange anymore. That's why your schemes are useless against me. Lord Dongting narrowed his eyes and looked at the deep darkness at the bottom of the lake. I won't cry for him. He had been sealed in the Wei River for more than 1,000 years, and had always regarded me as an enemy that he could not get rid of, and was deeply afraid of. But Ben Jun doesn't have any feelings for him. Oh, in fact I do. But it's not what you think. I'm crying because you saw a fan and thought of a woman, and you tossed and turned restlessly. You cherish the fan, and use it as a token of your affection, but how can it be the fan you love? That woman gave you a jade bottle back then. You also like jade bottles. Sigh. But one day the fan was destroyed, and you shed tears. Tell me, are these tears shed for the fan or for the woman? Lord Dongting sighed and shook his head. Why do you think that I would shed tears over a fan? Li Yunxin was silent for a while, then laughed. Good. It's my fault. I didn't expect you to be so perverted, to use a child as a prop to miss the child's mother. But it's understandable. In the secular world, there are many people who think of a heartless person when they see a child, and then vent their anger on that child. You are all perverts. So, you are the Shinryu's son-in-law? Looking at the 9th young master, I think of Shinryu. Now the 9th young master is dead, but I'm still Chiwen, as long as I'm Chiwen. Looking at me, I can also think of Shinryu, so he doesn't kill me. But the dragon has 9 sons. Li Yunxin laughed. Don't you feel uncomfortable? There are probably 8 other son-in-laws like you, right? Lord Dongting stared at Li Yunxin for a while and sneered. You are not afraid of death. But what do you know? You've been wrong once, and now you're wrong for the 2nd time. Why don't you think about why I brought you to Dongting? Maybe you really want to leave, but you need someone to look after the house. There must be something important in Dongting Lake. Maybe it's because of that thing that made these things. Li Yunxin raised his hand and pointed at the white woods in front of him. Now that things have come to this point, Lord Dongting, tell me your conditions. I'm not in a good situation now, so I may be willing to help you. These words sounded arrogant, but Lord Dongting didn't sneer. Instead, he seriously pondered for a while before suddenly raising his head to look towards the deep lake to the west. After looking for a while, he said, It's not safe to stay here for a long time. Let's go to Safflower City to talk about those things. After saying that, he ignored Li Yunxin and flew into the skeleton forest. Li Yunxin followed him without hesitation. He thought the white woods were white water plants and algae, but it turned out to be a forest of flood dragon bones. So he began to think, what would the Safflower City look like? He remembered that he once saw Ling Kongzi Muyin. This Lord Dongting was a man-eater. Then the white woods were the bone woods. Safflower City, was it a city of flesh and blood? He followed Lord Dongting around the white woods and went straight into the depths. Probably because those bones used to belong to higher demons, they were still emitting white light even though they had been at the bottom of the lake for so many years. This made the light in the woods soft and bright. Even Li Yunxin felt like he was in the elves' jungle. In such a light, Lord Dongting stopped in front of a spine dozens of meters high. This spine was inconspicuous in the woods, and its surface was covered with a layer of light green algae. The big demon whispered, Here we are. Li Yunxin took a closer look at the front. However, he saw nothing. He frowned slightly and grunted in a low voice. He was ready to deal with any possible traps and attacks. But the next moment, Lord Dongting moved to the other side. So Li Yunxin saw a red flower. It was really just an ordinary red flower. It was the kind of small red flower that you could see growing in the wild grass in spring, summer, or autumn. It had 5, 6, or 7 or 8 petals. It had a yellow stamen, and 1 or 2 petals were slightly broken. Such a red flower, the size of a thumb, was timidly attached to a piece of algae and placed in a gap of the thick spine. If not for Li Yunxin's good eyesight, if not for Lord Dongting looking in that direction, he would never have found this thing. This is Safflower City. A strange smile appeared on Lord Dongting's face. It was a smile that only people who were immersed in a happy past would have. It is also my palace. Li Yunxin realized that the palace he was referring to was the Dragon Palace of Dragons. Fiendish demons that were worshipped would give birth to their own spatial palace. If they were powerful dragons, they would have a dragon palace. This Lord Dongting was not a dragon's, so he called it a palace. The original palace would take on different forms, depending on the wishes of the fiendish demons. Li Yunxin did not know what the 9th young master's former palace looked like, but his palace was inside his folding fan. Now that he had become a great demon at the true realm, his palace should have become a dragon palace. He was known as the Wei River Dragon King, and now he had his own palace. However, the folding fan did not seem to have changed. Li Yunxin did not know what the dragon palace, that he had upgraded from a palace to a dragon palace. Because no one had taught him this. He could put many things into the folding fan, but he had never thought of trying to run in himself. He was more worried that something would happen if he went in, and he would not be able to come out. It would be so embarrassing. And this red flower in front of him, was it Red Flower City? Red Lady's ghost wedding was quite grand, with dozens of prawn soldiers and crab generals accompanying her. So many fiendish demons, were they all living in such a small red flower, in Red Flower City? He looked at it in a daze. Lord Dongting smiles faintly. So you didn't check your palace carefully? Now that it is called a dragon palace, it should be a big change. You are an interesting person. Afraid of water, but you became dragons. You dare to seek death in front of me, but don't dare to look at your little thing. You are interesting too. A great demon, but he made such a thing that women like. Lord Dongting was not angry. As if he did not hear the mockery in Li Yunxin's words, he leaned forward and touched the flower petal. When I was a red carp, there was a woman in a shallow stream who plucked a red flower and threw it to my side. And I sensed this, so I became intelligent. He turned around and looked at Li Yunxin with a smile. Do you know who that woman was? Li Yunxin smiled. A Shinryu in human form? Lord Dongting snorted and laughed. There are too many things you don't know, and you will know them sooner or later. If you can leave my Red Flower City tomorrow, sigh, I will tell you. Come with me. After saying this, Lord Dongting pounced on the red flower, and his huge body immediately disappeared. Only Li Yunxin was left floating in front of the red flower, surrounded by the deep lake water. At this time he could escape far away, but when he looked at the bone forest around him, he gave up the idea. Profound Realm Hatred wanted to kill Profound Realm Kunwazi, but he had to go through a lot of trouble and ask Lord Dongting to help him. It was not easy for a Profound Realm cultivator to kill a Profound Realm cultivator. The dead Emperor of the Li Kingdom killed 2 Profound Realm and 3 True Realm cultivators, but he didn't kill them all. One of them came back with his Ocean of Qi and Mountain of Snow destroyed. But here, each of these 4,000 skeletons represented a great demon above the True Realm, and there were countless Profound Realm cultivators, right? It was probably more than all the Profound Realm cultivators in the whole of Daotong combined. Lord Dongting had been imprisoned here for 2,000 years. On average, he had killed 2 True Realm and Profound Realm flood dragons every year. But he had survived until now. Li Yunxin realized that the impression she had of him in the past and everyone's estimation of his strength and realm might have been wrong. The reason why he was speaking to her so calmly was probably because he had absolute confidence in himself. In front of such confidence, he couldn't run away. That would be a stupid and cowardly choice. Lord Dongting didn't say how to enter the Red Flower City, but it shouldn't be difficult. Li Yunqin tried to sense it with Wacken, and he easily found a small vortex. It was like a vortex made of Wacken, or a disorder of time and space. It was a familiar feeling. He did the same, and put other things into his summer palace. He didn't hesitate anymore. He frowned and rushed forward. There was no darkness or possible discomfort as he imagined. One moment, he rushed forward with a frown, and the next moment, he was no longer in Dongting Lake. What the hell is Lord Dongting doing? He was still in Dongting. However, he was not at the bottom of the lake, nor around Dongting, which was destroyed by Kunwizi today. Instead, he was in Dongting where the sun was shining, and the grass was long, and the orioles were flying. The reason why Li Yunqin knew it was Dongting was that he was standing on an island. This island looked familiar. He had a good memory. He glanced around and realized it might be Mount June. The real Mount June Island was a big island with a mountain hundreds of meters high. But this Mount June Island was small and low. The real Mount June was not far from the shore. People could cross it with a small boat. But now, this Mount June was far away from the shore on the other side. It was almost in the middle of the lake. Li Yunqin realized that this seemed to be what Dongting looked like a long time ago. A long time ago, the silt brought by the Weishui River was not so much, and the bottom of the lake was not so silted. The area of Dongting should be larger. Just like now, the tall and beautiful Mount June in his later life was just a small island, and Dongting was wider and more vast. Looking around, there were curling clouds where the water and the sky met. According to the vast area of this world, this lake may be larger than a sea in his world. In the palace of Lord Dongting, there was such a vast world hidden. He stood on Mount June and found that there was no one around. Looking up at the shore, he only saw lush vegetation. It should be the end of spring and the beginning of summer in this world, and the flowers were in full bloom. The green on the distant shore was dotted with colorful colors. And then he thought he saw smoke. He didn't hesitate anymore. Frowning slightly, he looked at the lake in front of him and flew to the shore. The scene on the shore soon became clear in his field of vision. Li Yunqin saw where the smoke came from. There was a shallow stream behind the flowers and plants on the shore. The stream made a turn when it was about to flow into Dongting. It circled a shoal covered with pebbles and grass. There was a moonlight tree by the shoal. It was the same size as the moonlight tree that Lu Laodao used to see at the gate of the Dragon King Temple. Just like the first day Li Yunqin came to the city of Wei, this moonlight tree was covered with tiny flowers. Small pink petals covered the green grass, which looked beautiful and dreamy. But one person spoiled the scene. Lord Dongting, who had a tall dharmakaya and a fish head, was wearing a peasant's shorts. He sat under the moonlight tree and made a bonfire. Without the big red robe, he looked a little funny now. The bonfire didn't seem to be made by magic. It was wet wood, and there was black smoke in the fire. A woman in yellow sat on the other side of the bonfire. She was not beautiful, but she was young and delicate. She looked a little numb, sitting on her knees. She looked at the shallow stream with a red flower in her hand. And Lord Dongting was roasting a fish. Chapter 204. Seeing Li Yunqin coming over and standing down, he doesn't even look up. He just says, "Sit down." Li Yunqin doesn't know what he is doing. He just takes a careful look at the fish pierced on the branch by Lord Dongting. It's a waste, a good red carp. But it seems that the fish's internal organs are not removed. It's pierced from the mouth to the tail with a branch and roasted on the fire. It's not cooked and it doesn't smell good. It was more like something that a rich young lady, who had never been involved in worldly affairs, came up with when she was in the mood for a rare occasion. However, it's strange that a carp spirit roasts a carp. Li Yunqin doesn't think Lord Dongting will do this for no reason, so he also kneels down in front of the woman in yellow, without saying a word. The woman doesn't have any obvious reaction. She is still silent. After sitting like this for a while, Lord Dongting turns over the fish on the fire. Staring at the fish, he says, The Dongting in my palace is what the Dongting outside looked like 3,000 years ago. More than 3,000 years ago, I was a red carp, just like this. He looks at Li Yunxin. I was swimming in this shallow water. The woman was wearing light yellow clothes. She held a red flower in her hand and lit a fire under the tree. She was so hungry that she wanted to catch a fish and roast it. When she saw me, this woman. Who is that woman? Li Yunxin glances at the woman in yellow opposite him. There is nothing special about her. The most reasonable inference may be that Lord Dongting abducts her and places her here as a plaything. Who is she? Lord Dongting laughs. Of course you know her. I don't kill you partly because of her. Alas, things in the world are changeable. Fate is also changeable. Do you think it's a blessing or a misfortune? That woman was just a little Taoist who just started to cultivate Taoism more than 3,000 years ago. She knew a little Taoist, but she didn't have any supernatural power. She looked embarrassed at that time. In this world, there were countless human cultivators. In the end, so many people failed to cultivate the great Tao and died. Even if a profound realm cultivator's Taoist magic was extremely powerful, how much lifespan did he have? 1,000 years was considered a long time. Ascending to immortalization in 600 to 700 years is not considered a short life. But she has only lived for 3,000 years. Li Yunxin was silent for a while, then slowly exhaled. Calligrapher or sword saint? Don't worry. Lord Dongting waved his hand. The smell of the fish was finally getting better. But this woman later married another man. The man she married was also a man of striking appearance. They have a son. Logically speaking, according to the human cultivators, this child was a Tao child. However, he did not like to cultivate. He did not love cultivation, but he loved the prosperity of the world. At that time, Dongting was surrounded by water, and there was no emperor. It was called Nans. Back then, this place was called the 100 Kingdoms of Nans, Li Yunxin said. The first time he went to see Lord Dongting, he tricked shopkeeper Ding, Officer Zhao, and Officer Sun of Egret Town into bringing him there. When the three of them talked about the name Lord Dongting on the boat, they also mentioned the history of the Qing Kingdom. He used to think that it was unofficial history and couldn't be true. Unexpectedly, it was confirmed by Lord Dongting today. When I went to Mount June to see you, I heard on the boat that 2,000 to 3,000 years ago, Lord Dongting helped the king of the Wei Kingdom to unify the 100 Kingdoms of Nans, which was the beginning of today's Qing Kingdom. Is it true? Wow. I didn't expect someone would remember this. Lord Dongting sounds a little happier. He moved closer to the fish and smelled it, then continued to roast it on the fire. Yes. At that time, 2,900 years ago? At that time, I was still in the transcendent state. But it was enough for me to help people. The ancestor of the Wei Kingdom's royal family was the Taoist that the yellow-clothed woman gave birth to. He came to the secular world, married, and had 10 generations. In the 10th generation, the Wei Kingdom's royal family came out. Lord Dongting laughed. They originally lived and multiplied in Guanqiu for generations, and later became emperor in Guanqiu. At that time, the royal family's surname was different from that of the common people. It was a compound surname to show respect. Since they became emperor in Guanqiu, their surname was Shangguan. Nowadays, those compound surnames among the people are, in fact, legitimate descendants of the ancient royal family. Li Yunxin frowned slightly. You adored her. Because you loved her, you helped her descendants establish the Wei Kingdom? Lord Dongting narrowed his eyes and let out a long sigh. At that time, I still knew about it. However, these things could only be used to pass the time for boredom. But there is another matter. The Wei Kingdom had a total of 746 years later. I got tired of it and cut off this relationship. But after the Wei Kingdom was destroyed, a branch of the Shangguan family remained. After another 97 generations, a little girl was born. Lord Dongting looked at Li Yunxin. That little girl was a Tao embryo. She was seen by the Kenzo and was brought to cultivate the Tao. She reached the transcendent state in her 20s and was on par with Ling Kongzi. It was said that she was beautiful, and when the Kenzo investigated, She turned out to be a descendant of the Sword Saint. Li Yunxin took a deep breath. So, the girl you met by the stream is the Sword Saint now. Lord Dongting chuckled. That's a small matter. Instead, it was said that the genius of the sword sect had met a man. That man? He's a remnant of the art saint. Who knew that the remnant of the art saint would fall in love with the girl, causing her to betray the Kenzo and elope with him. The man's surname is Li, and his name is Chunfeng. As for the girl, her surname is Shangguan, and her name is Yu. Li Yunxin was silent, and his face was solemn. After a while he chuckled. Oh, so, I'm a relative of the two sages? The sword saint's husband, is the calligraphy saint now? I've never heard of this before. Relative? Heh. Lord Dongting laughed. Not a relative, but you are the only descendant of the two sages now. As for the two sages, of course, no one told you. They turned against each other, more than 2,000 years ago, and rarely interacted with each other. At that time, all the people who knew about it were dead. Who can tell? Li Yunxin's face turned as numb as the girl in yellow. Let's pretend that what you said is true. I won't ask why my parents had such a powerful background and what happened later. But why are you telling me all this? In fact, he did remember a detail. Yesterday in the sky, he told Kuan Wuzi that his mother was Shangguan Yu. Kuan Wuzi was shocked. Now he thought, Kuan Wuzi actually talked with him for so long. Did it have anything to do with this? Don't worry, kid. Lord Dongting waved his hand. At this time, one side of the grilled fish had been burnt, and the taste had become bad. However, Lord Dongting didn't seem to want to turn it over. He said slowly, You only know this, but there's another thing. The other thing is the reason why I didn't kill you. Do you know why I saw the dragon aura in you? Please tell me. Lord Dongting's face became serious. He was silent for a while, as if he was seriously sorting out his thoughts, and then said, At the bottom of Dongting Lake, half of the dragon soul, the soul of Shinryu, is sealed. After saying this, he looked at Li Yunxin's face. He found that Li Yunxin was still calm, without any fear or panic. Whether this calmness was fake or not, Lord Dongting liked such a listener. He rarely had a listener. So he continued. 2,000 years ago, Shinryu encountered a disaster. So he separated a part of his soul and sealed it at the bottom of Dongting Lake. As for why it was sealed here, it was because you said I was the emperor's son-in-law. But I used those people's thoughts to control the demon. Demons can divide their essence chi and divine soul, and combine them into one. How can it be compared to what humans do? I divided my essence and soul, and Shinryu divided his soul, which became the dragon's 9 sons, Chiwen. When Chiwen appeared in the world, he was a big demon in the mysterious realm, which was comparable to my cultivation at that time. But then Shinryu captured half of his soul, and also half of his memory. This half is what you saw today, the Zhang restriction of Dongting. A part of Shinryu's soul was sealed at the bottom of the lake, which is the source of this restriction. Half of Qi Wen's soul and soul guided this source to form a formation. Dragon Qi is the most intimate with Dragon Qi. Qi Wen appeared in the world. It was just a key to the restriction of Dongting. I have been guarding the dragon soul in this Dongting for 2,000 years. 1,000 years ago, Qi Wen was sealed at Wei River. Although I don't know why Shinryu did it, but according to today's situation, Shinryu probably did it to prevent trouble before it happened. He turned his palm, and the dragon god token that hatred threw to him appeared. This dragon god token is a part of Shinryu's dragon scale. When Shinryu appeared in the world, he wanted to subdue all the demons in the world, and had a fierce fight with the golden-winged rock. Shinryu lost 1 scale, and the rock lost 3 feathers. This dragon god token is the broken edge of the scale. Hatred said that Shinryu ordered him to remove the restriction, and asked me to see him. But how can Shinryu not know how to remove this restriction? Shinryu said that there is dragon sun in this lake, and Qi Wen in Wei River has the other half of dragon Qi. If I have to go out of Dongting, I only need to call Qi Wen and cast a spell. When the 2 Qi collide, the restriction will be removed immediately. He also said that there is another spell, which is to combine the power of 2 dragon sun. It can also break the balance of this dragon chi and suppress this restriction for a short time. However, the effect will not last long. At that time I didn't know what it meant. Now, I know. Lord Dongting straightened up. Hatred said that Shinryu ordered him to leave Dongting. Humph, why do I need him to save me? There must be something strange about this. He became a little excited. Clouds and mist rose around him again. Now I have sealed this Dongting, just in case. But it is still not enough. Hatred forged the dragon order, but this token is real. I haven't seen Shinryu for 2,000 years. Now it seems something big has happened. Therefore, he looked at Li Yunqin. I don't care how you become Chi-Wen, but since you are already dragons, I can give this Dongting to you. After that, I will personally go take a look and see just what kind of deity is doing this. Li Yunqin thought carefully about what he just said in his mind. In fact, every single one of his words could be considered earth-shattering. But he still didn't panic, and he didn't relax because he really didn't have to worry about his life. He frowned and said in a deep voice, because I am Chi-Wen now, you believe me and give me the Dongting that you have been guarding for 2,000 years. It is so good that I feel it is dangerous. Of course it is not only because of this, but there are other things that I can't tell you now. I just said. Lord Dongting finally stopped roasting the fish. He took the scorched fish down from the flame and blew on it. The mist in his mouth wrapped around the fish like thousands of silk threads entangling it. I just said that you thought I was your enemy, and spent a lot of effort. Alas, you didn't know that some things were destined. What's more, you don't know that the things you've done, Ben Jun has seen them all. Because I saw it. I knew you were the one I was looking for. If you can live well and succeed in the future, you will naturally know the secret. The inhibition of this Dongting is like a needle. Although the needle is sharp, it can stand. I spent many years to erect this needle, so you can enter and exit this Dongting without feeling the inhibition. Just now, I asked Hatred to make a full blow with his dragon chi to push down this needle. As soon as the balance of the inhibition is disturbed, it will return to the original situation. You can't get in or get out. If this Dongting is like before, even if I do it myself, it will take several years. So you just stay here peacefully. Lord Dongting stands up. He looks at Li Yunqin. Oh, one more thing. Well, Shinryu's spirit is sealed at the bottom of the lake, so there will always be dragon chi leaking out. Occasionally, some aquatic creatures pass by and get the dragon chi. Then they become big monsters. That's where the white forest comes from. The flood monster that is born because of the dragon chi. Although it has a high realm, it is not rational. It only knows how to chase blood. If you take over this Dongting, you have to be careful. You are good at reading minds, but it doesn't work on them. Or they are not demons, but just beasts with the supernatural power of demons. You have just entered the real state, I hope you won't lose your life here. You should know that this Dongting is sealed now, so you have nowhere to escape. Think about it. Lord Dongting waved his hand happily. Just now outside. Why did I tell you that you shouldn't stay here for long? Li Yunqin realizes something and suddenly stands up. But Lord Dongting doesn't give him a chance to speak. He throws the burnt carp in his hand to Li Yunqin and shouts, she loves you and misses you. Let's see if you can save her. Li Yunqin is stunned, but he immediately reaches out and firmly grabs the grilled fish. The next moment, the burnt grilled fish suddenly expands. It turns into a beautiful woman in black. However, the black clothes on her body were not black clothes, but the burnt material of her clothes. As soon as it meets the wind, it immediately turns into powder, revealing the naked, white, tender, and smooth body. It is Red Lady. Li Yunqin holds this smooth body with both hands. Before he can do anything, Lord Dongting has already laughed 3 times and waved his sleeves. The bright sun and blue sky in front of him suddenly disappear without a trace. Li Yunqin falls back into the dark and gloomy lake thousands of meters below with Red Lady in his arms. He immediately glances at the side. He is still at the place where he saw the red flower just now. But the red flower has disappeared. The woman in yellow is thrown out together with the 2 of them. In just a moment, she is pressed into a blood mist by the deep water. She wasn't the only one. Not far away, a bloody mist that looked like a giant firework had also appeared. Li Yunxin once saw Ling Kongzi and Mu Yun above Dongting. He immediately realizes that the large blood mist is those white and fat people. Lord Dongting is really gone. He takes away his palace and throws out all the people he doesn't want to stay inside. If that was the case, then Lu Ling would definitely be in the water. Li Yunxin glances at the unconscious red lady in his arms and finally has time to say the words in his heart. Mother ** king old pervert. Lord Dongting now imprisons him in this Dongting lake and uses him as a laborer to kill those flood dragons. This monster looks kind, but how can he really let people take advantage of him? As soon as this idea comes to Li Yunxin, he hasn't decided whether to wake up Red Lady or go to find Lu Ling first. At this moment, he hears a muffled roar coming from the deep lake in the distance. A huge, ferocious, hornless dragon head, with a long and thick body behind it, rushes at him. This newborn flood dragon pounces straight down from the white forest. Its body is as big as Li Yunxin's real body of the realm of truth. It is even bigger. But it also seems to be afraid of those towering skeletons. It only passes through the forest and doesn't dare to rush around. If not, the roar just now would have swallowed Li Yunxin and Red Lady. Li Yunxin sighs. He only glances at the evil flood dragon and then turns around and runs away. Chapter 205. But even though it escaped, it only circled around in the white forest. The dragon's skeleton, which had been preserved for thousands of years, was not ordinary material. When Li Yunxin passed by the skeleton with the unconscious Red Lady in his arms, he tested it. Its hardness and toughness were amazing. It was no wonder that even though the evil flood dragon was savage and slow-witted, it still knew how to dodge. It must have suffered in this white forest before. On one hand, he wanted to avoid the evil dragon, and on the other hand, he wanted to find Ling Kongzi, who might have also been thrown into the water. Ling Kongzi's body was already a bag of skin, and her soul was hidden in the soul-calming bell. If it was a person, although it was dim in the water, there would still be things of different sizes, so it would be easier to find. But although her bag of skin had been tempered, it no longer had any spiritual power. It was hard to say whether it could withstand the pressure of the thousands of meters deep water. If her body was crushed and only the bell was left, it would really be like looking for a needle in a haystack. He lured the dragon around a few times in the white forest. The evil dragon knew that it could not catch up with this cunning little thing, so it jumped out of the forest and followed Li Yunxin in the water above. Lord Dongting said that this dragon was cruel and stupid, but it was actually an exaggeration. Although they were not as smart and astute as big demons and humans, they were born of dragon chi and had the instinct of beasts. In terms of intelligence, they were roughly the same as adult cats and dogs, or even slightly better. This dragon was a dark giant beast. There were no scales on the surface of its body, but slippery tough skin. There were white spots scattered on the skin, as if the creator had accidentally sprinkled a few spots of titanium white on it when dyeing it. It also had no claws, only a hornless dragon head. It gradually realized that the little thing in the forest was looking for something, and its dizzy brain had a dizzy idea. Seeing where Li Yunxin was going, it spat out a mouthful of thick ink like water, dyeing the water so dark that he could not see it. It chased after Li Yunxin like this for a while, and gradually felt bored. He roared for a while more, leaped into the forest a few times, then turned around and swam off to who knows where. At this time, Li Yunxin put down the unconscious Red Lady on a thick rib that extended from the spine. Based on his eyesight, he couldn't find Ling Kongzi's body after going around for a long time. It must have been crushed. The bell that carried her soul was nowhere to be seen. She must have fallen into the water. She had lost her physical body, but her soul was protected by the magic treasure, so she could still feel it. If such a sentient soul was buried in the mud at the bottom of the lake for a few years, a dozen years, or even hundreds or thousands of years, what kind of terrifying situation would it be? Even though Li Yunxin wasn't a kind person, he was still shocked when he thought of this. If he were to fall into such a situation one day, he would rather die. He put Red Madam down and took out his folding fan from the bottom of the water. Naturally, his fan was not an ordinary item. It wouldn't get wet even if it got wet. Then, he stared at Red Lady's body for a while. This carp spirit must have spent a lot of effort when she transformed into a human form. Her body was exquisite, indeed worthy of a beauty's praise. But Li Yunxin wasn't too interested in these things. He was born with a good body in both his previous and current lives. He had never experienced the feeling of being crazy and heartbroken for one or a few women. But it often made other people sigh sorrowfully. If you didn't spend a lot of effort, you wouldn't cherish it. He was tired of a lot of things, and those feelings were brought to this life. But in this life, in spite of the memories of the past and the thoughts of the past, there was still a body that was growing. Based on his previous life's knowledge, he knew that a lot of times, the material also determined the spirit. His body was full of vitality. How could he say that he didn't have any romantic thoughts? That wasn't realistic. The first time he saw Qiao Jiesen, he had a good impression of her. It was hard to say whether it was a physiological impulse playing tricks. For ordinary people, this was a good thing to enjoy. But for him, this was a weakness and an Achilles heel. So he chose to abandon his original body and transform into this dragon body. Although she still looked like the Li Yunxin of the past, with human organs and meridians, she was completely different from a teenager who was in heat at the age of 14 or 15. So he looked at Red Lady's body for a long time and breathed a sigh of relief. He didn't feel anything at all. It wasn't that he lost some kind of ability. In fact, sometimes he felt that he was walking on the Great Tao alone, with a feeling of solitude. But solitude was spiritual and had nothing to do with physical desires. Sometimes he wished that there was someone. It didn't matter if it was a man or a woman, old or young, beautiful or ugly, good or evil, that he could get along with freely. It was easy to get along with Lu Laodao, but it wasn't the kind of feeling he wanted. What Li Yunxin wanted, to use the words of his previous world, to put it in a more artistic and pretentious way, then they were soulmates. Highly compatible with his soul and thoughts. He wanted such a person. Before meeting such a person, he would never mistreat himself. He talked to himself like this in his heart, and finally his eyes fell on his folding fan. After entering Red Flower City, he realized that there could be such a wide space inside, instead of a narrow place that might make him go crazy. In the past, because of some secret and personal reasons, he had never set foot in it, but now he was going to explore it. In such a dangerous and strange environment, using his own temporary imperial residence as a residence was indeed a wise choice. But even today, Li Yunxin still felt that this thing was very strange. It was a strange feeling that was incompatible with the real world. There were immortals and demons in this world, but they were all evolved from the people and animals of this world. But the so-called temporary imperial residence and dragon palace. You said it was a magical power? But it gave him a different feeling than any other magical power. This was one of the reasons why he treated this thing carefully before. But now that the opportunity had come, Li Yunxin took a deep breath, held up Red Lady, and put it into his folding fan for the first time. Lord Dongting's palace looked almost the size of Dongting. Li Yunxin didn't know if he could reach all the places he could see at that time, but at least he didn't see any obvious boundary. And he thought that since he was in the real realm, he should have a dragon palace. Since it was a dragon palace, although it was not magnificent, at least, it was passable. But what he saw in front of him was not what he thought. There was a vast expanse of whiteness between heaven and earth. He couldn't tell up from down, left from right, and he couldn't see the boundary. In this vast chaos, some things were floating. Half a basket of green plums, a pot of wine, a dozen ghosts with dull faces, 2 books, half a sugar man, a thin sword, in short. The small things that Li Yunxin put into the folding fan before were now floating in this fog. He used to take things out of the folding fan, just like a person taking things out of his pocket. He could always feel it with his wakin or his hand. So he just grabbed it and took it out. He didn't know what it looked like in his pocket. Li Yunxin used to know that there was a space in the temporary imperial residence, but he didn't see the real appearance until today. Now that he saw it clearly, he had doubts in his heart. The appearance of the temporary imperial residence didn't completely follow the master's wishes, but directly reflected the most important thing in his heart, or the most unique characteristic. No one told him such things, so he could only slowly ponder and guess by himself. Then the appearance of the temporary imperial residence probably didn't completely follow his wishes, at least not at the beginning. But in any case, he was not a heartless person, so why did it look like this inside? He sighed and planned to try to make some changes. But at this moment, he heard a soft exhalation. Li Yunxin looked down. He first saw the snow-white and delicate skin, then the flat collarbone. Then he saw Red Lady's face. He didn't know when she opened her eyes and looked at him. The two looked at each other in silence for a while. As soon as Li Yunxin loosened his hand, Red Lady floated in the white chaos. The next moment, a red light flashed on her body, and she had a set of red clothes that she wore when they first met on the night of Minghan. He was silent for a while and said, "Lord Dongting may have left Dongting. Before he left, he threw you to me." Red Lady didn't speak but just looked at him blankly. Li Yunxin coughed. "Earlier, he was roasting you with a branch. I didn't know it was you at that time, because I really couldn't feel whacken. If it was not just domestic violence, but because of what I did before. It's not because of you." Red Lady finally spoke. Her voice was not as calm as she looked. Compared with Li Yunxin's tone, her words were more emotional. "But I am still very happy. You came to Dongting." Li Yunxin was a little stunned and frowned. "I have my own business." But he was interrupted by Red Lady. The fish monster didn't seem to care about his explanation at all. "It's not what you think. Although my father. Alas. But in fact, the branch you saw was the branch of Jianmu. That fire was his crimson tail fire. I am a ghost cultivator with Yin spirit, so I am always afraid of the red yang qi. My father refined the branch of Jianmu into my body and mixed it with her red tail fire. In this way, although I am a ghost cultivator, I am not afraid of those things. But in your eyes, alas, you were killed by him first and became a ghost cultivator. Then you suffered so much and stayed with me. Did he take away all the shrimp soldiers and crab generals in the palace?" Li Yunxin sighed. "He actually said, it was for your own good." Red Lady was silent for a while in this white chaos, and a smile appeared on her lips. But even Li Yunxin couldn't see whether she was a little bitter or not. "How can I see his sincerity and hypocrisy? You said you loved me before, but it turned out that you lied to me. You said you lied to me, but now you came to Dongting in person." Li Lang could be said to have no choice, and he could be said to have come for the sake of Ling Kongzi. "But how can I know that you're not sincere, even though you're pretending?" "Ah, you don't have to defend yourself. You don't know if something is true or not even if you say it, so it's better not to say it. Living in this world, no matter how you live, is nothing more than coaxing others to deceive yourself with you." Saying this, Red Madam slowly smiled, but she still stood there obediently. Li Yunxin listened quietly. After a moment of silence, she furrowed her brows. "You are doing a very dangerous thing," he said in a deep voice. Starting with such a sentence, he felt that he could finally recover his calmness. "I am a person who is cold by nature. I don't know what it means to be good to others, and it is difficult for me to give appropriate feedback to others' kindness. Some people like to receive kindness and gratitude from others from the bottom of their hearts. But for people like me, being treated kindly by others will make me feel uneasy. This feeling of uneasiness and awkwardness makes me feel both psychological and physical discomfort. So I don't like making friends with others very much. Not to mention your stupid kindness. If I treat you well one day, it means that I must have something to ask of you. You have learned your lesson last time. This time, if you still think that I treat you well, have you in my heart, and come to Dongting to save you because of my conscience, then you should be careful." Li Yunxin looked at her. "I will use any possible means to eliminate the threats around me and the factors that make me feel uncomfortable. Even if you really stay in my heart, it means that you have become a doom. If I want to pass the doom, the method is simple. I will make a trap so that you don't know it. When you die, you will still cry happiness. Now let me tell you. You think that your father did something good to you and kept you here. You also think that I may still have a place for you in my heart and come for you. But the reality is, your father once again treats you as a tool. He treats you cruelly and tries to arouse my pity. Then he leaves you here and wants you to become a chess piece again. And I appear here. I do want to come to you after everything is done. But I come to you just to say the following words to you. If I were you, I would stay away from people like me. The pain I give you will be 100 times greater than the possible happiness I can give you. I will send you to Mount June in a moment. Although this Dongting has been sealed, it is so big. You can always have a place to go. Don't show up in front of me again. Red Lady looked at Li Yunxin and didn't speak. After a while, she finally frowned and sighed. How can you even say such words? In order to not to make me sad and regret in the future, you actually humiliate yourself like this? Li Yunxin stopped talking and turned around to leave his dragon palace. But Red Lady said softly, Okay, I won't say it anymore. But you can't drive me away. There is a reason for me to stay in Dongting. If I leave, you can't do something. Li Yunxin had turned around and turned his back to her. After a while he asked, In this Dongting, is there anything you can do but I can't? Red Lady let out a sigh gently. Then she said, Have you seen the flood dragon in the lake, my dear? Yes. I also heard from my father that Bai Yunxin plotted to kill Ling Kongzi, because the adopted daughter of Golden Rock mistakenly thought that Ling Kongzi killed you and the 9th young master. Do you know why? Li Yunxin frowned. What do you mean why? This is my plot. I certainly know why. Hey, my dear. Li darling. Red Madam smiled and sighed. That Bai Yunxin said that she likes to eat dragons. But the 9th young master is just a monster in the transcendent state. Wouldn't it be easy for Bai Yunxin to catch him? Why didn't she really eat him for 1,000 years? Have you ever thought about it? That you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.